Hey y'all, welcome to this week's session of The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. It's your girl Naya Angel here with my co-host Mr. PAT and E-Man. What's up,
What's
fellas?
good, everybody?
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Ooh-wee. We have some topics to discuss this week, fellas. So I'm going to jump right in because how could we not jump right in with this story, right? this story broke, this issue broke, and it is all over the internet, all over your social media. You know, you log on to any of those apps, and it's somebody posting something about it. So let's talk about Mr. Derrick Jaxn. The official question, and I know this is going to get interesting, so let me just premise this entire episode with this note for our listeners out there. As we've said many times before, here at The Good, the Bad, the Truth, we are always going to give it to you straight and exactly how we feel on an individual subject. It is by no means ever any of our intent to purposely offend anyone. However, these are our individual views on these topics, and these views that come from some may not be representative of the group as a whole. So with that said, please note we appreciate you listening, and we want to make sure that it's understood that these are our views on the subject and do not intend to infringe on anyone's lifestyle. So with that said, the question for this topic specifically is, what are your thoughts on the Derrick Jaxn situation? Go ahead and throw this to my man PAT. What say you, sir?
All right. So my thoughts on this Derrick Jaxn situation. So I'm going to come at this from a different angle because, of course, we've heard what a ton of people had to say. We see the internet going nuts. People posting blogs, articles, and what have you. So I'm going to go at this from a different angle. First, let's look at Derrick Jaxn's brand, and let's look at his numbers. Derrick Jaxn is described as a YouTuber, self-love ambassador, author, and entrepreneur. His following is in the millions. On YouTube, Mr. Jaxn currently has over 700K subscribers. On his Facebook, he currently has 3.7 million followers. And on his Instagram, he has 1.3 million followers.
Someone did their homework.
Right. Yeah. So, obviously, at this point, we've heard about Mr. Jaxn's indiscretions. Like I said before, the internet's going nuts. Basically, the internet damn near broke. I personally didn't care at first. And really, to be honest, I didn't even want to cover the story, but people kept talking about it and it became hard to ignore. So for me, I'll just put it like this. Instead of engaging in stupid gossip about the multiple women this man cheated on his wife with, I figured this can be an opportunity to tackle this with a different perspective, a different outlook. Now, I brought up Jaxn's numbers because it seems that while this news has been shocking and disappointing to a lot of women, the fact is he still has a huge following. Now, I'm sure quite a few people unfollowed him, but it seems like a majority of people didn't. So what this tells me is that women aren't as upset as they have claimed to be. Of course, there's all kinds of commentary out there, but the fact is a lot of these women are sticking around. And I'm saying women because, I'm sure he has men that follow him, but let's be real. The majority of his fans and followers are women.
Right.
This guy has a new book and is currently selling it for 50% off. He's even upselling with his other books and his courses.
Wow.
So what he did is took a bad situation and used it as an opportunity to sell more product. Now, women have bought into this man for a long time. And I'll say that I always knew about Derrick Jaxn, but I never gave his videos much of my time and energy. I've always seen them online just kind of popping up. I've seen women share them on Facebook or whatever else. So he's always been in my periphery. However, I did know that his videos were about uplifting women. And uplifting women is fine, but he did this in a way that held men accountable while not holding women accountable. And at some point, it became obvious that he was pandering. Let's just be real here. He was pandering.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of his videos, and I could acknowledge that the content in his videos were based in common sense. But at the same time, what happened was he created this sort of flawless image for himself and women. And I'm going to say especially Black women, because I know a lot of Black women invested in him.
Of course.
They bought into him. Jaxn spoke on the flaws of men while uplifting women. But the thing is, this created an imbalance. He never held women accountable. In a way, he sold these women on fairy tales. And I'll just be real. I think in a way that's dangerous. And I say that it's dangerous because now women are holding men to a standard that they themselves aren't required to uphold. We hear about how men need to be better and do better, but some of these same women are allowed to not improve themselves in order to qualify for this great man that they're in search of.
I have a good answer to that.
I'll admit that I haven't watched all of his videos, and maybe there are some videos where he holds women accountable, but after watching enough of his videos, it is clear that what he was doing was very calculated and very much targeted to women. Clearly, he was pandering, and anything along the lines of relationship and marriage advice and anything along those lines, that type of commentary, I think is always a slippery slope. Now, let's fast forward to now where Mr. Jackson's dirty laundry has been aired out and he's been exposed as a fraud and a hypocrite. The same men that he was scolding and waving his finger at is the same type of man that he himself actually is. Kind of funny when you think about it. So I think this is an opportunity for people to yet again be reminded not to idolize people or put people on a pedestal. We shouldn't be doing that with anybody, famous, non-famous, celebrity, non-celebrity, or whatever else. All people are fallible. We have to stop having these unrealistic expectations of certain people. The fact of the matter is everyone falls short. Everyone's flesh is weak. So while some of these people might put out good content that we can resonate with, depending on what it is, the fact is those same people putting out the content might not live up to it. And yes, it will make that person or persons a hypocrite, but we have to learn to put the message over the messenger. The message itself.
That was a very interesting concept that you just said.
What, putting the message over the messenger?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that.
And that's really, I think that's what we all need to do. We just need to put the message over the messenger, because I think oftentimes we focus too much on the messenger. I mean, we listen to the message, we get the message, we love the message, but then we shift over to focusing on the messenger. And I think the message itself is more important than the messenger. I think people in general, we get caught up in image and we get caught up in personality. We're in an era of social media where anyone can jump online and be fake as fuck and be able to prosper. There are people who are lying about who they are, how much money they make, and God knows whatever else that they might be lying about. So nowadays, it's hard to decipher the real from the fake, which leads into another point I'd like to touch on. Some of the women out there saying they'd leave Derrick Jaxn after what he did, honestly, I think are lying. Now, some are probably telling the truth, but I think a lot of them are lying. They're lying to themselves and they're lying to the social media world. I mean, we know that some women would actually leave and that there are women who walk away from marriages every day, but there are also many women out there who don't just pick up and walk away. The men that they are with cheat all day, every day, and they still stick around. So when it comes to men like Derrick Jaxn, whose net worth is in the millions, and I looked that up, his net worth is in the millions.
How big is his net worth? I'm just curious.
I think from what, if I remember correctly, is like 1.5 million.
Okay, so he's a small millionaire.
Yeah, but he got a million.
Hey, I gotta respect that though.
Yeah, I respect that. He got a million. So he got a million. So some of these women are gonna stay. Let's be real, they will stay if they have the access to the money, the cars, the lifestyle, etc. They will put up with some indiscretions. This is something that happens.
Also, love could be love.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
I mean,
I know that's an old-fashioned thing, but it could be a part of it.
I'll say love too, but the thing is they'll put up with some indiscretions, and I say that because, as we all know, this is something that happens all the time. Now, at least there were some women online who were honest and saying that they wouldn't leave him, but the women questioning why Derrick Jaxn's wife didn't leave, I think some of them are just saying that his wife should leave or that they leave, because I think it's just easy to say. It's easy to say until the situation actually presents itself. That's actually
true, but I actually have a really good answer behind that. Actually,
okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because I know I'm. But
you're good.
But yeah, so my thing is, maybe if the man is broke and hasn't really brought much to the table in the relationship and marriage, yeah, I think it'd be easier for a woman to leave. But if it's a man producing at a high level, I honestly don't think they're leaving that easily. In fact, I think some women out there wish that they were Derrick Jaxn's wife. I mean, I know that's probably a controversial thing to say, but I'm just being real. I think some women
that is real
would rather be in Derrick Jaxn's wife's place. Of course, they wouldn't want to be cheated on, but they would want to have access to his wealth and resources. We all know that no one in their right mind wants to be cheated on. But if a woman had to choose whether she'd rather be with a broke man who cheats or a rich man who cheats, I think they choose the rich man. So, I think it's easy to sit back and engage in mindless gossip and so-called drag people. But I say to people, people out there, what about you? What about your marriage? What about your relationship? People find the time to gossip about others. Meanwhile, their own marriages are failing or have failed. Their own relationships are failing or they have failed. This Derrick Jaxn situation is really just a microcosm of for what happens out there in the real world on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing is not only a time to fall back on placing people on pedestals that they really shouldn't have been on in the first place, but it is also a time for people to reflect on themselves and their own flaws and their own imperfections. It's time for people to reflect on themselves and understand that humanity, unfortunately, is messy. Relationships and marriages can be messy, celebrity or otherwise. People need to learn to look more within and stop comparing and contrasting with other people's relationships or marriages. Stop looking at celebrity marriages and creating marriage goals, quote unquote, marriage goals based off of that. And focus on how you can strengthen your own relationships and marriages on you and your partner's own terms. So just to end it off, I'm going to say Derrick Jaxn being exposed as a fraud and a hypocrite, it's hurting some Black women out there. And it's hurting them because Derrick Jaxn and his advice was a form of escapism. It was a form of escapism from the reality that while men are imperfect and make imperfect choices a lot, women still have to learn how to self-evaluate and reevaluate themselves and see where they have gone wrong. Derrick Jaxn was also a form of escapism because he created an image, whether intentional or not intentional, of himself that he himself didn't live up to. And some Black women bought into that image. Now that we see the dents in his armor, we know that the reality is people need to take these relationship experts or these relationship gurus' advice with a grain of salt. So this goes back to what I said last time, as far as we need to focus on the message and not the messenger. And I'm on that.
I agree. And just remember, we can't be saving hoes.
Well, E-Man, we definitely gonna throw it to you next and let you you speak on that in the left.
So before I get in, I'm just letting everybody know E-Man's about to talk reckless, on this subject,
What's new?
It ain't nothing new, but yeah. But before I even start off, I want to say, fuck Charlamagne the God. I'm not even gonna lie. So this fool come do his whole donkey of the day thing and whatnot. And his hype is only going off, that song, Black Men Don't Cheat and whatnot. So he been really hyping himself since he got his little part in that song, and everything. But for me, I'm being sick and tired of silly Black brothers like Charlamagne who want to talk down on other Black brothers, that this is a common thing that happens with everybody. So I don't know why he had to go that far to go do something like that. But to him, I'm gonna just keep it like, you a bitch ass nigga. But
whoa.
Now,
hey, all right.
I had to get that off my chest because that joint was burning me all day, the whole week. Now, so my man Derrick Jaxn, all right. So seems like a little bit of a millionaire. I'm sorry, he's a millionaire. I apologize. No disrespect to him, but from the angle how I see it is, I think the man is really in a polygamy-like union, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I saw the video with his wife. I don't know, but it was very interesting how his wife it wasn't like she didn't look presentable, but the simple fact was she had like a bonnet on while they showed like his other supposedly side pieces that looked like, like tens and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on that actually.
So I'm sitting over here like, you about to do an interview and you don't look, I wouldn't say slightly presentable, but to the sense of like, I know many, Black women, when it comes to certain things, they make sure, they're going at 110. She walked in that interview like she was like 25, 30% in it and whatnot. Just the way how, what she was looking like. That was just me, But I'm not taking anything from her, but it's just the simple fact was like, it looked like she was playing a role at that moment, knowing that she's still going to stay with her husband. So that's my take on her part. But towards like Derrick, he's still a young Black brother who still is doing all the right things. Is he hiding the simple fact that he could be in a polygamy union? Probably, because many people don't even accept that, because like PAT stated, he didn't lose too many followers. Not much has changed. Seemed like he sold his book at 50%. So that means you're winning, your brand itself is not tarnished nor damaged, but yet you hurt a few Black women who haven't taken the responsibility of their lives because they're looking at Derrick as someone, as like, as Pat said, like, a guru or like, a relationship expert. And I feel like this is the same thing that falls back on like how Steve Harvey was at that time, when Think Like a Man came out, and then everyone was going to him for relation like advice and whatnot. But I laughed at him because the fact was just like we're going to people that are, I wouldn't say like they're in or out, but it's the sense of like we're holding these people to high standards to relationships, yet there's no real like formula behind relationships. There's like many different relationships that you can have now, and that over time many people have all different types of relationships. Like I think the one biggest thing, like many people make fun of Maya because of the simple fact she wants to have more of a relationship with herself, and people thought that was crazy. But then we had people downing a young Black brother because he cheated, but yet when we look at all other different communities, don't they cheat too? So why don't we hold everyone to the same standard? But it seems like when it comes to a Black male, it's like, oh no, like you did wrong and whatnot, And that's the thing that I'm always having to see, that we treat everyone differently on these same situations and whatnot, Because I can tell everyone like this, 50% of the US have divorces. Divorces are so bad to the point that they make money off of it,
And the rate's still going up.
And the rate is still going up.
Yep.
And I was just about to say, the rate is still going up, So before we even try to destroy like Derrick, Jaxn's like image, make sure you look at yourself. 1, 2, this is a common thing that's going on. And 3, and I'm gonna just throw this in and whatnot, that based on my research that I've been looking at, it's been saying and constantly and looking back at like how the universe is that they say that men are more likely not just to cheat, but it's common within their nature and whatnot. Because if something wasn't natural, it means it wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. Unnatural things are unnatural. When something is not, it means it's of essence of like your DNA. But everyone just needs to take the time, because when I mean the internet went crazy, the YouTubers did skits on him and his wife, and it just went down there from there and there. And towards their art, I respect their art, because it's funny. But we need to make sure, if y'all gonna sit here and talk trash about Derrick, make sure y'all talk about everybody who's sitting there cheating. Don't matter what creed it is. So don't just look at this Black man because what I'm saying, because just because he's successful. There's basketball players that cheat on their wives, football players. We'll have a huge list, but y'all don't need to be bringing that man down. And that's the reason why I haven't really discussed about Charlamagne the God, because what he did, that really disgusted me. Like it bothered me a lot for a whole week, and I've been waiting to air that out. But I'm gonna let Nine Angel, and I'm gonna just hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. So I have to giggle this out because, fellas, I'm going to tell you, you guys will always be my homies for life. And there are some things that the two of you just said that I agree with, and the rest of it is a bunch of hogwash.
We still love you, though.
We still love.
I love you guys.
We disagree.
Gettysburg.
Remember, it's always about this.
Let's dive right in. So, sir, first things first, I'm gonna address what Pat was talking about with putting people on the pedestal and understanding the importance of the message over the messenger. 100% agree, no argument there. The gist of your point is 100% spot on. Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes back to the Cardi B situation. It's even going to relate to this little Nas X situation for me. The whole thing is we should not be making celebrities icons from the perspective of trying to live our life like them. We shouldn't be doing that for celebrities or anyone. We have to learn to find our own way. It's okay to get the message, as you mentioned, Pat, without putting the messenger on a pedestal when that messenger is a human. It's that simple. Humans are flawed in nature. Mm-hmm. So whenever one is presenting themselves as perfect, it's a red flag.
Yep.
However, I do have to comment on the notion that his wife could have stayed, and I know you didn't say she did directly, you spoke in general terms, but could have stayed because of his income. I watched the interview with him and his wife, and that is not what I took from it. As a woman, I've been in that position. And you all know me, accountability is my modus operandi, it's how I work. Okay. Yes. I take accountability for the fact that I stayed in a relationship way longer than I intended to. And in said relationship, it was a situation where we were financially equivalent. And I tell you, my number one driver was not money or love either. It was habit. You get used to a person. You get used to a lifestyle with that person. And it goes beyond money sometimes to the fact where, hey, this person is familiar with my family. I'm familiar with their family. If you have children, the children play a part. You start thinking about separating them. And are you being selfish if you want to separate them, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going into excuses for why every individual woman decides to stay with a man who cheats or vice versa. But what I'm saying is there are definitely key elements that have nothing to do with financials. There are sometimes just certain levels of comfort.
Yeah, I agree.
There are just instances where you are with your spouse and you are comfortable in that lifestyle, right? You've established a certain lifestyle together where the thought of moving away from that becomes unbearable. Now, again, that's not to say that if it is the right thing to do to move on from that person, that it's okay to not do it just because you're comfortable, not making excuses there. Everybody has their own cross to bear. But I just wanted to note that there are alternate reasons why, especially as a woman who has lived through this experience, you decide to stay and stick it out. Not saying it's wrong or right, just saying that they do exist.
I totally agree. Just real quick, I totally agree with everything you just said. And yeah, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, well, this guy has all this money, so a woman's gonna just stay because he has money. Right. I just think money's one factor, but yeah, there's definitely multiple other factors. So I just want to put that out there.
Of course.
Absolutely. And so, okay, so Mr. M, sir, let me tell you, I watched the Charlamagne interview. I watched the Derrick Jaxn interview. I did some research on the fella. Again, I will admit I don't know everything about everything. I was not an avid follower of his before this story came out. But let me tell you this. Me either. I 199,000,000% agree with every single word Charlamagne said about this dude.
Yeah,
every word of it.
I'm gonna keep it real. I listened to Donkey of the Day actually today, and I do agree with Charlamagne.
Every word Charlamagne said about this dude being a narcissist is spot on. So, okay, before I watched the video of Charlamagne's Donkey of the Day, I did the research myself. And I said, I'm going to watch that last because I don't want it to change my perspective no matter what he's saying. And I promise you, of everything he said, I had 6 or 7 of those points written down myself to make about this guy. He is the complete and literal description of a narcissist if I've ever seen one in my entire life. He spent his entire last 9 years in this business preaching about, on multiple forums, let me remind you, there are videos, his podcast or whatever channel or whatever he had, where he is like, there is no forgiveness for cheating men. They consciously made the decision to step out on their wife. Let me tell you, if a man was cheating but got caught cheating, it wasn't his first time. I mean, he had some damning words for other men who sleep with other women, who have side chicks outside of their marriage. And then this man turns right around on the video he's doing with his wife and talks about how unacceptable his behavior was, how he not only broke the sanctity of his marriage, but of his relationship with God, and about how he absolutely expects that people are going to stop following him, but he appreciates those who are going to stay with him. This guy is about that dollar and saving a brand that he saw going under when his shit got exposed. He's deceptive and he's dishonest, because at first he said, listen to this.
Everyone wants to use God to save them all the time, though.
Yes, he do. But this particular guy goes out of his way to preach about how all of these men who were caught cheating before were not only defiling the sanctity of their marriage, but of their relationship with God. Bruh, what? Bro, what?
I'm not even religious anymore, but
no, I am not either. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is how can you sit there and make all of those claims against all of these Black men in the past, and you have been, and keep this in mind, in the interview, make note that both him and his wife admit that this is not the first time it happened. She states that he stayed multiple times in this situation. Let me tell you something. Not only is he deceptive and dishonest, but his wife is either a victim to that comfortability that I was just speaking to earlier, or she is also purposely trying to help him clean it up for the purpose of saving this bread. Because she made, unless she is being held victim, and I don't know that
I don't think she's held victim, no.
Right? It could be one of these situations like R. Kelly's ex-wife, where she said she continued to make appearances, but at the same time, he had her like locked away in a room. I don't know the Jaxn.
Oh no, he ain't no R. Kelly though.
I don't know what the case may be, but she chose to look the way she did during that interview, which tells me she either just doesn't give a fuck at this point and just like, fuck it, I give up, I submit, I'm going to be with this man, I'm done fighting, and I'm going to accept all his bullshit, which could very well be because of the brand, which then would make Pat right, and that there, money motivations could occur. Or it could be that he's so manipulative that he did not even stop to think and say, baby, I'm already going on camera where I'm going to be announcing to the world that I have stepped out on you, that my stepping out on you was inappropriate, and that I have violated you in the sanctity of our marriage. Let's make sure that you're your best self and feeling and looking like your best self, because this is already a humiliating situation for you. No such thing occurred, bruh. I get complete and utter narcissism from this dude, because if you look at Charlamagne's interview, the man didn't just call him donkey of the day and just go off on a tangent. Bruh brought receipts.
Yeah, he brought the receipts.
Hella receipts with him.
So I can respect all that, but I feel like that dude Derrick is he's in a polygamy because the way how his wife was dressed in that interview made no sense at all. It made to the point where, like, are you playing it safe or you're telling me something?
Well,
because I didn't even pay attention to him. I looked directly at her the whole time I looked directly at her because I'm like, yo, this is not making sense right now to me.
It makes sense if you agree with Charlamagne's point that he's a narcissist. Because, I mean, when you think about it, he didn't even care about the appearance of his wife. Because I understand that she should care for her own appearance. But what if she's in a depressive state because of all of this? She has just had to sit next to this man who has admitted to openly humiliating her and being a hypocrite, right? And she is the victim in all of this. It's like he had no protection. Like, his first thought in all of this, when all of this came out, should have been, how do I protect my wife? Because this is the person who, as far as I can tell, has been 100% faithful to him, has expected the same. They gave no indication of polygamy. And I mean, it's 2021. Polygamists have been out now for years, openly and freely. If he's so vocal about all these cheating men, but he can't be vocal about being a polygamist, then he's a hypocrite for that alone. So
that right there, I definitely agree on that. That I can definitely agree on.
I don't buy the polygamy thing. I agree. So I'm gonna wrap it up with this. So here was my what I had officially said. No, I don't believe he's a polygamist. Secondly, I believe his actions were in line with the fact that he 100% knew that he was wrong. Okay. And he tried to clean it up to save his brand. Okay. His wife agreed his actions were inappropriate and that they were in violation of the vows he took, and that this has happened multiple times before. She mentioned about how she left and stayed gone for a while, but then came back because he changed his behavior and showed her he was going to change and really promised, which, yes, she's a fool for falling for it, but it also speaks to when Charlamagne said he was manipulative. Because he knew exactly what to say to bring, yes, she made the decision to come back, but also he knew what to say to bring her back. And I'm sorry, but for me, when it comes to the entire situation, what I see is a wife who is either distraught, and so she does not care about her appearance in that interview because she was just trying to get through it, probably because he asked her to. Or B, she just really is honestly the doting wife who can't see past the fact that this man has no respect for her. As far as he is concerned, bruh is a joke. Okay, he was a joke for his message in the beginning. This whole notion that any man who cheats is this and this and that. First of all, women cheat, men cheat, regardless of the race.
Yep, okay? Everybody cheats.
Everybody cheats, and everybody who's a cheater who committed to be faithful is an asshole. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, Spanish, male, Chinese. It doesn't matter. So his message that he was trying to damn black men to the depths of hell for cheating and all of that in the first place was hypocritical bullshit. And now that he's gotten exposed for his behavior, his whole I apologize to my wife is also bullshit. You weren't even, most of the time you were looking directly in that camera because you're trying to save your brand, bro. You're a fake and a phony, period. Yep. And I agree with Charlamagne.
Yeah, I agree with Charlamagne. And real quick, I think the problem with this whole thing, because we obviously heard of people who've cheated, and we hear about celebrities all the time who stepped out on their wives, et cetera, et cetera. But with Derrick Jaxn in particular, he had a certain brand. He had a certain image. And just like you mentioned before, you know, he was basically sending these black men to hell for you know, for their indiscretions. But he embodies he embodies that same thing that he was pointing, you know, trying to send these black men to hell for. So yeah, dude's definitely a hypocrite. And that's why I think that's why this is so big, because what he did, it goes against his whole brand. It's not like he's an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, you know, it's not like he's a rapper, or, you know, he's not an actor or anything like that. He was the the self-love ambassador.
Exactly.
And
I mean, he literally
watch those book
said,
sales
I
just go
have
up,
no
though.
sympathy for a man who cheats. He literally said those words.
Right, he said
and
that
then
shit.
you turn around and want us to have sympathy for you, bro. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's just like, everybody is definitely making sense, but the thing with the end of the product is he's definitely saving his brand. Now, everyone enjoys, I wouldn't say everyone, but when you start doing evil things, you know, evil still takes over no matter what. So he did an evil act, but at the end of the day, my man's about to sell more books probably, but yet people still gonna hate him. But at the end of the day, it's like he won no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, that's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy
right.
thing.
Well, because
50% off.
bad publicity is good publicity in Hollywood. Any publicity is good publicity in Hollywood, right? Because at the end of the day, the point is to stay relevant. Even if you're staying relevant with negativity, you're staying relevant. Right.
That's true.
And so in the world, in the Hollywood world, this was yet another opportunity for people to hear some of his bullshit rhetoric, if we're just being honest, right? And for him to sell his bullshit rhetoric and now move on to a new chapter. Now his next chapter is going to be, I was a flawed man and I made those mistakes I talked about. Here's what I learned from it. I learned from it that you can kiss my ass. How about that? Because I was never one of those. I think we briefly touched on this before, but I was never one of those people anyway who are like goals and stuff. When I see a celebrity couples, I don't give a fuck about what Cardi B and Offset are doing or not doing, or Sierra and Russ are or not doing. Yeah, at the end of the day, my relationship, the best guide for me and my relationship is communication between me and my spouse. Not what some other couple is doing. Yes, that's not to say I don't ever take advice. I listen when people talk and share their experiences, but I do not take everything that everyone says as gospel. You have to take accountability at the end of the day for your own relationship. You cannot look to a celebrity couple as the end all be all of how relationships should be. Bitch, Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce.
Right.
And he still got Beyonce. He still got her. See?
Who did you cheat with? Like, so at the end of the day, it's like you can't, for me, it goes back to what Pat was saying about the message and not the messenger. It goes back to what I was saying about accountability. Take accountability for your own actions. Brush should have came out and said, yeah, I cheated. You know what I'm saying? Whole time I was spitting to y'all about being a cheater and damning my brothers, I apologize. He should have started with an apology to his wife and then an immediate apology to the black male community. If I'm just keeping shit a G. Yep. Okay? Yep. If I was a black man, I would be offended that this dude spent 9 years damning us to hell just to be a cheater him damn self.
He wasn't going to do that though.
Yeah, come on. He was definitely going in and out of them side chicks, I can tell you that.
Like I said, we can't be saving these hoes. So
yeah, well, in that case, he would be saving himself.
He's saving himself. Yeah.
Well,
he went quickly to the Lord.
Right, he the hoe.
Saving himself to the Lord.
He the hoe that he's saving, because the Lord. I hope he do get good with his dog, because listen, honey, He has absolutely stepped out of his vows and everything that he has been speaking on from a religious perspective. And in that video, he kept, dropping Jesus' name and all of this. Okay, bro.
Yeah,
you
that was
confused and narcissistic as fuck.
I really see now. Now I'm waiting to see the end game behind this whole thing. Now that's what I'm waiting to see now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like how you use the Jay-Z and Beyonce reference and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that end game from that one didn't even change much. But somehow they got a kid together. But that's just me just saying something.
Multiple kids, I think. But
yeah, I forgot they got multiple now.
Right, I think multiple kids. All right, fellas, I think we definitely got our feelings out on that one. Excuse me, I was a little passionate on that subject because I've been researching it all week, and then
so good.
I capped it off with the Charlamagne. and just one real quick thing. Generally, my relationship with Charlamagne is like, sometimes I 100% agree with him, and sometimes I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? This time, though, every word of it, I was like, yes, you better go ahead and hit that point.
Yeah, I heard it, and I agree with everything he said.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
you alone on this one, man.
Right. Exactly.
Like I said, I'll be the lone wolf on this one. I'm just not giving that man any credit at all. Just because he had a little part in, Lil Duval gave him a little part in the song. Now my man feel like, he think he gonna feel like an expert. But yeah.
Lord have mercy. Okay. All right, fellas. So on to the next subject, which is similar in that it is about a relationship and lifestyle guru. His name is Kevin Samuels. So I definitely will admit that I did not know much about Kevin Samuels, much like Derrick Jaxn, before we decided to discuss him. So I'm actually going to be fairly brief, but just so the audience knows, the official question is, do you agree or disagree with the principles of Kevin Samuels? So if you fellas don't mind, I'm going to start this one out only because, again, I don't know very much about Kevin Samuels, so I don't have a very long perspective here. But from what I can see, his principles make sense, right? The principles of saying that we should all be trying to enter relationships at our best selves, doing our best to be able to bring something to the relationship in general. I agree with that. Whether it's male or woman, everyone is responsible for themselves, being healthy, being happy. You have to be able to do that as an individual before you can bring that to a relationship, is the way that I feel about it. Do I think, based on the few videos that I've seen where he is discussing these topics specifically, and he's trying to tell Black women, that specific audience, that, hey, listen, you need to adjust your approach to relationships? I agree with that. I agree with that assessment. I think in the Black community that we often try to mirror what we see in white communities and equate that, say, okay, a white woman could have these standards and go pick out a man and no one says anything. And when a Black woman does it, how come we catch flack? Well, you all know that I feel that does happen to us, right? As Black women, I feel like we're some of the most judged groups in America or in the world. And actually, I feel like we're probably one of the most judged. However, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take accountability for our actions too. If you keep choosing the same kind of guy, you're going to get the same kind of results. However, one thing that I've seen as a common thread with Mr. Samuels is that he proceeds to teach with what seems to me just a tad too much condescension. I'll give you a specific example. And before I dive into the example, the point that I'm making there is that you get more B's with honey than salt. You can teach someone in a much better form when you're not insulting them. That's just the general principle of teaching. If you continue to move forward with a conversation in a way that could be rude or offensive or seen as rude or offensive, you cause the receiving party to go into defense mode. It's just not the best way to teach. And what I've seen in the specific example I'm going to give is the example of a video he had. It was about 5 minutes or so, where he had went shopping at a mall and he met a woman who worked in a Louis Vuitton store, one of them stores he said he just came from. And he started chatting with the clerk, and he found out that she was a single woman with 2 dogs, a Black woman, who had been engaged 5 times before previously. Now, he says when he dove into the circumstances of how she had been engaged 5 times before but never married, she stated that she was in relationships with guys who were deceptive and etc., and that she wasn't willing to settle, and she knows her worth. And he then proceeded to say, okay, but if you've been in that situation 5 times, you have to take accountability for your choice. And why did you say, your choice of man, and why did you say yes to those 5 times? So first of all, he's correct. At some point, when you have a certain type. And if you keep choosing a toxic type, you're going to keep getting toxic results. Man, woman, whatever.
Of course.
At the same time, he was saying that he was being extremely condescending. I mean, he literally said about 15 times, I couldn't make this shit up. Can y'all believe that? She literally said 5 times, I couldn't make this shit up. Okay, bro. First of all, we heard you the first 15 times. You said you couldn't make this shit up. Secondly, when you're in the position to enlighten. You don't have to do it with insult. To me, that's a little fake. You're a lifestyle guru, okay? I'm not saying that every lifestyle guru teaches the same message. But what I'm saying is human nature is if you put someone in the corner, they're going to defend themselves. If you back someone up into a corner and you're trying to teach them a legitimate lesson, again, I'm not arguing that the lesson wasn't legitimate, but you're trying to do so by being condescending or being overly judgmental or even being a little, I don't want to say rude, but to me, I felt like it was rude because there were other ways to get that message across. Then you can't be shocked when you get some resistance. And so my thoughts on Kevin Samuels' principles, because that was the question. Do you agree or disagree with the principles of Kevin Samuels? I agree with the principles of Kevin Samuels. I do not agree with his delivery. And those are my thoughts on it. So I'm going to throw it to Mr. E-Man. What say you, sir?
So I've never heard of this. What's his name? It's Kevin Samuels. I want to make sure I get this man's name correct.
Yes, Kevin Samuels.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Kevin Samuels. So I tell everyone, I'm an educator. All right. That is what I am. I'm a coach. I teach. That's my thing. All right. And the first thing that I let people know, listening is the biggest skill in the world by far. All right. If you're not willing to listen, you will never receive the message. And I'll just put out a few examples. When you look at football, the QB is supposed to get the play from the coach or the OC, whoever he's supposed to get it from. All right. They have to communicate. He has to listen to what that play is. Then he has to give that play to everyone that's in the huddle. So they have to listen to know what play it is. All right. Before they can execute it. So without your execution, you must make sure that you're willing to listen. Because if you can't listen, you're not getting anywhere. All right. That's why listening is by far the biggest skill in life. And I tell that to everyone every day, and I have not changed that. But looking at the man's principle, he is a hard-nosed, old school type of dude because he's in his 50s. You know, I just found out, I listened to one of his videos today, found out he was 51. All right. I actually listened to Young Pharaoh also too, and I'm a big follower. And I actually met him. Right. A lot of people don't like because the way how he gives his delivery, because he's so militant, but he gives off the same message and whatnot. So I tell everyone, there's certain people who that won't listen to the message is because you're refusing to not listen. Not because you don't want to hear it, just choosing not to listen, you know? And I don't see anything wrong with his methods, you know? And certain people, you know, insult other people because they can't deal with other people's energy. And what I mean by that is like, if somebody, when you tell somebody something and you know that they're getting and they understand what you're telling them, but they're giving you the wrong answer, that's already just saying like, yo, I can't deal with you right now, you know? And that's how some people operate. Some people just don't want to be around people, you know, who are at a very low energy or at a very low frequency because they know that their energy can't take that, you know? And that's how I see, like Kevin said, he's not a bad guy, you know, but he feels like the way I need to deliver this is the only way I can give it to you. And he's not going to change what he does, you know, because looking back at everything, it seems like he gets the results that he needs. And I don't see him as a bad person, but we got to really understand that when you're teaching, there's many different ways you can deliver it. Mm-hmm. Once you're educating someone, you know, you have to be very hard-nosed on it because that is information that you must receive and listen to, you know? It goes, because the big thing we talk about is communication. Without the communication, we got to make sure we're listening, you know? It goes back to the whole thing. Listen, because I watched the video that PAT sent me because I knew nothing about him because I was trying to figure out his name, who he was. So I sat here and watched this whole 22-minute video today and whatnot. And the one thing, you know, what made him so mad is because the simple fact was that the young lady disrupted his show because the simple fact is he felt in his heart, you know, that you're making me change what I'm trying to do right now. So you're making it all about you, knowing I have a show with a topic already, you know? That just pushed him over the edge. Because why? She wasn't listening, but she was talking over him. And that's the whole thing when you look back at energy of the unbalance. When someone is really unbalanced, it changes the way how your frequency moves. So most people, if you feel like you resonate at a very high frequency and you don't want to be at a low frequency, you're automatically going to basically be very direct, very stern, you know, and very, when ignorant's not the right word, but very insulting, like Nia Angel said, you know. Okay.
All right. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Are you?
No worries.
Okay.
But, so, you know, I feel like a Kevin Samuels, it's definitely what we need, you know, around because he's amazing about everything he says, but he's not going to change how he delivers it.
That's and just real quick before we throw it to PAT, that's where my issue comes in because I am not known as a very shy person. I definitely can be very straightforward and stern, but I tell you this, I know for a fact that if I intended to give out directions or instructions to my department as the department head in the manner in which Kevin Samuels delivers his messages, that I would be brought with much more resistance than what I experience now, which is the intent, the goal of the team to work hard because of the relationship that I have with them. My team's MO is that communication is key. We can solve any problem or issue that comes across to us with communication. And if any one of my team members were to bring me an issue and I were to condescend to them about it, I would then be creating in them distrust in their ability to bring an issue to me and to have me help them through it, as is my responsibility, without chastising them for it. Because it's the difference between being stern and being straightforward and being truthful and in being disrespectful. You can't expect to have great dialogue when someone is in an emotional state based on the conversation. And if you put people into an emotional state because you're insulting them or because you're creating an environment where you're making them feel like you're judging them, then you're going to have a much more difficult time than by simply communicating your point without the condescension. For example, he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right in what he said about you have to be responsible and accountable for your own choices. But you can say that the way that I just did without judging or being condescending to someone. I didn't say, all you women who keep ended up with the toxic dude, that's on you. You got to live with it, deal with it, whatever. Don't come crying to me. I don't do all that. I'm like, but I will say, let's say this was a friend of mine that came to me. I'll be like, sis, at the end of the day, you got to look at your choices, honey. You got to realize that, there's a pattern developing here, and you got to say to yourself, why did this pattern develop? And my friends know they're going to get that conversation from me. If you come to me, I'm going to give you the honest truth. But that doesn't mean that anytime in the conversation, I'm going to purposely cross the line into offensive behavior. Kevin Samuels in that particular video literally took video of the girl in the store. Okay, he took video of the girl in the store. Now he blocks her face out, but he used that video in his clip to say, I can't believe this. Like, I can't make this shit up. Why? Why was that necessary? It wasn't, in my opinion.
When they do that, he's making a point. He's doing, he's validating everything that he teaches and said. So that's what I call that the affirmation of validation. So that's why most of them do that for, And the thing about, like, for you, now, like, as you were stating, you got friends that can come to you, and many people just don't have that one friend. And I share and talk to a lot of people about certain things about, sometimes many people just need that wake up call, like many people do. And it does take, like a Kevin Samuels to do it, There's others who might just not wake up and just be like, they're willing to accept it, and that's like the whole, catch-22, like devil advocacy, like right there that we're playing, and when we start looking at that, then, people just got to take care of their, but they have to own up to things that they've done that has been wrong. And many people are not willing to do that. Like, that's the hardest thing to do in life, because that's the hardest thing. Because I've been working on it monthly and day. Like, I told people, like, I've been working on my discipline since I was like 24. Now I'm 34, and yet it's still not a battle like it was when I was 24, but now it's becoming better, and now I'm growing better, So like he said that, he doesn't want to be a man, but many people don't want to work on themselves and whatnot. And sometimes some people do need that, like the image I'm seeing right now, when you use like a taser and you go tase somebody and you see them like buzzing, like I feel like that's what, certain people need that.
No, I understand where you're coming from, and we'll give it to Pat so he can get his. Oh no, you're fine. We'll give it to Pat so he can get his thoughts. And I agree with you, and I think to a certain extent, and I think after we let Pat wrap up and give us his thoughts on the topic, we can come back to it. But Mr. PAT, what say you, sir?
Go ahead, Pat.
No, y'all good. Y'all, I mean, I agree with what you both said. You guys, both of you made great points. There's really not too much more that I could add to it. So mine will probably be a little bit shorter. But for the most part, I do agree with Kevin Samuel's principles. Not even for the most part. I'll just say I agree with Kevin Samuel's principles. I know that Kevin Samuels has been around for a while, and I see that he's an image consultant, and a lot of his content deals in dating and relationship dynamics between men and women. Now, obviously with that kind of stuff, it's messy stuff, because I think when we're dealing with relationship or marriage, dynamics, dating, anything like that, those types of dynamics between men and women is just really messy. It could be messy stuff. It could be heavy stuff. But from what I've seen, Kevin Samuels is very logical. He's very no nonsense, and he deals in reality. As we all know, he doesn't sugarcoat or softball things. That's just his approach. Not saying I agree or disagree, think it's good, bad, or indifferent. I personally probably wouldn't have that exact approach that he does, but that's his approach. When he gives advice, he gives it very matter-of-factly. Now, I know some people don't like that, but me personally, I don't mind it. I think what people fail to realize is that some people will just not sugarcoat things. Some people are just not going to say things in what we think is a nice way or a better way. Can delivery be better? Can things be said in a better way, in a more, I guess, more of a way where it could be more easily received? Absolutely, of course. But the fact is, some people just won't do that. Some people it's just not in their personality. And it could be something that's part of their brand also. We also have to realize that some truths are just harsh.
That's true.
It's just harsh. And then the thing is, sometimes it's going to be said in a harsh way, but it doesn't make it any less true. There are certain people who will not say what they think you want to hear. They will just say what you need to hear. So I did see the video where he told a woman that she would die alone. While that might have been a harsh thing to say, and once again, I personally would not have said that. That's just not my style. But he said it. I think he just said it to wake that woman up. He said it to wake her up. Basically wake her up to the reality that she was. Oh, and for the record, the video I'm talking about is the same one E-Man is talking about, that 22-minute video. Yeah, so he was waking her up to the reality that she was not in alignment with what she was asking for or what she felt she deserved. For example, Kevin asked this woman what she would rate herself on a scale from 1 to 10, and she said a 5.
Yeah, she did.
Which they've agreed, and I think most of us can agree as well that 5 is average. They agreed that 5 is, on a scale from 1 to 10, 5 is average.
Of course.
She said that she wanted a man who makes 6 figures, yet she rated herself a 5. Now, I mention that because that is out of alignment. That's just those two things are conflicting. How can you ask to be with a man who makes six figures, or we could say is rich or wealthy or whatever, but then you say that you're average. So of course he aside from what E-Man brought up as far as him being irritated with her interrupting what his show was, yeah, he's gonna come at her a little bit, I guess, harsh, because it's just a way to kind of put some shock into her system. It's just, you know, he had to kind of shake her up a little bit. Not saying it was right or wrong or whatever, but that's just what he had to do. But more was discussed in the video, and I won't go into any more details because people could watch this video. The video is called the quote "You're average at best" quote video.
Let's leave it down in the comments.
Yeah, we can leave that down in the comments. A clip from that video is what went viral and had the streets talking. That's actually why a lot of people started talking about Kevin Samuels. I mean, he's been around for a while doing this thing, but that particular clip from that video that was being circulated, that's what got everybody talking, because of course they saw his delivery, and you know, of course some people liked his delivery and then others didn't. It was just one of those things. I think people could agree on his principles being fine, but I think the problem people have with him is just delivery. It's just a matter of delivery.
Right. It's funny because my thing is, I didn't grow up around people who were known for being soft or sugarcoating anything. My mother, my grandmother. Okay, so first of all, my grandfather is Jamaican. Okay, he will give it to you 100% straight like it is. I didn't grow up around people or family or even in an area. We're from the DMV, right? Where people will spend all day long in class joning on you, and it was still all love, right? Sure. You would just have these sessions going back and forth. And at the end of the day, you and your homie still eating lunch together in the cafeteria and laughing like nothing ever happened. So for me, it's not about expecting him to sugarcoat. He's plain rude, and it's unnecessary, is my opinion. You can get a message across straightforward and honest. If I say to you, you did not have your best performance, you could have done better, you didn't do what I would have expected from you, that's me being straightforward without saying, dude, your performance was some shit and you sucked and I can't stand it and I don't want to watch that shit again. Those are two different deliveries with the same point. Me saying you didn't have your best performance, you could have do better, I've seen better, is me delivering the same stern message that, bruh, I expected more from you, without necessarily needing to insult. I feel like sometimes when a person that has something to teach feels the need to insult, it's more from a certain issue of narcissism and ego than actual need to get a message across. Because I know some pretty powerful people, or some, for instance, Malcolm X. Malcolm X got a message across, I think we all can agree, like no one else. I've only ever heard Malcolm X say, though, you are kings and queens and should behave as such. Not stop being an N-word or stop being a hoe, or even though he could have said those things. Those are not the words he character.
That's true. That's true.
See, the thing about, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But you know, Malcolm X, he had a character, and he respected his character. Like Malcolm X never wanted to get out from his character. Like he respect what he was delivering and who he was.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Kevin,
I agree.
Samuels.
That's my point.
Has no character.
Exactly.
He don't want to be a character. He wants to be who he wants to be. And that's like the reason why a lot of people don't like many people wouldn't like what his delivery, and a lot of people don't like, you know, Young Pharaoh a lot because the way how they deliver, and it's no character behind it. Because
but to say Malcolm X had a character, I would say, yes, he had character in his principles, I don't know that I believe that Malcolm was like putting on a show of a character.
No, not. I'm not talking about him putting on the show. I'm talking in more of the sense that, you know, Malcolm wouldn't say things that were so derogatory. Like
right, because that's his principle.
And that's his principle. So that's the character I'm talking about. I'm not talking about him putting on the show. I'm talking about my man kept, like, nobody would take him out from his character and how he said things. No matter what was said to him or anything else, you know? Like,
right, but that's my point though, right? His character, when I'm speaking specifically to your word character, character in reference to Malcolm X, I'm referring to was the character of his principle and his action. And when you said that Malcolm X had character, at first I thought you were going with he had character, meaning that he had a certain type of principle that he lived by. And then, but when you use the analogy that Kevin Samuels doesn't have a character, that's where I thought you were saying like Kevin Samuels is just raw Kevin Samuels, whereas Malcolm X was putting out a certain image. And my point is Malcolm X was the image that he was putting out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas Kevin Samuels seems to me to be conflicting in his character. He's on one hand saying, he's on one hand saying, I'm about uplifting Black men and Black women to their better selves. But then he's going out of his way to chastise them. Or let me say this, at least it seems like at times he goes out of his way to chastise. It seems conflicting to me.
Okay, I see where you're at. So you probably got confused how I was using the word character with both of them. Oh, okay.
But yes, I definitely did.
I mean, I agree with y'all. I definitely agree with everything y'all are saying. And like I said before, like just like me, when I think of like me personally, I wouldn't deliver things in the way that Kevin Samuels would. Another person that comes to mind that I follow, who's in that like that same realm as Kevin Samuels is Jason Black. He has a YouTube channel called The Business, and he deals in relationship he says power dynamics, you know, but and he speaks to women, and he's very, you know, men like him and Kevin Samuels, they're just brutally honest, and they just don't pull any punches. And you know, it's just one of those things where I say if people don't like it, then don't you listen. Have the choice to not support, not call, because like the thing is, women will continuously call these guys up, and these guys are known for being rough, they're known for being brutal, and they're known for their delivery, and there are other options out there. There are other people who are going to deliver things in a more, I guess, suitable way. And so I definitely understand using a certain delivery, because I've been a manager before at my old jobs multiple times. So, and I'm in a role of leadership. So, and I know that there are ways that you need to talk to people, because you can say you already broke it down. You could say one thing one way, but it could be too harsh. You say that same thing a little bit different, you're still stern, you still get it across, but you're not chastising that person or persons. Then they'll receive it a little bit better. So, I mean, delivery is definitely important. My only thing is that, like I said before, it's just one of those things where on one end, there's somebody who's gonna, for lack of a better phrase, be a little bit softer, a little bit soft-spoken, say things that are kind of just too, soft.
Right.
On the complete other end, there's like that brutally honest, like they don't give a fuck, like they're just gonna say whatever, and it's just this big shock to the system. They don't care about feelings, because guys like Kevin Samuels, or like a Jason Black, they don't really deal in like emotions and trying to make people feel good and all this other stuff. So they don't care about none of that. That's that other end of the spectrum. And then there's like that sweet spot in the middle. You know, you got to find that sweet spot in the middle, especially if you want to reach enough people.
Exactly.
Then you it's just about finding that sweet spot for whoever wants to get into leadership and being an expert and a guru and all this other stuff. So
yeah, no, I agree with you. My final thought on it is another analogy is it's like chess, right? Chess is about a game of finesse. When you create enough soldiers, you're going to win the war. It's that simple. And it's or let's say it's like war. It's like war or it's like chess. Either one of those analogies will work. But the point is, when you create trust and respect, you are more likely to have someone work their ass off for you because they know they can trust you and you have their respect and they know that they can depend on you, than if they think that you're just another manager who don't give a shit about them and who's going to chastise them and who don't care about their success.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, if his end goal is I'm getting tongue tied, is to reach as many people as possible and to get his message across to as many people as possible, you got to play the game of chess, bruh. You got to finesse your way to that goal. And you're not going to do it by creating enemies everywhere you go. Yes, there are some people who are still going to listen to his whatever he has to say. And you know what? It's on them if they get offended when they know that is his delivery style. But at the same time, I play to win in everything that I do.
You got
and
to.
It's much easier for me to create allies and utilize those allies than to get past my enemies. It's that simple.
I don't know. Kevin, it seemed like Kevin Sane was like playing checkers more than chess, but
yeah, exactly.
You playing more checkers than chess, but hey,
finesse it. That's all. I agree with you, but all I'm saying is, bruh, I can't recall not one time in my entire career where I ever had an HR complaint. And I've actually supervised over 40 employees in 6 or 7 different companies. Never once had an HR complaint as a manager. And all I'm saying is, I know how to get a message across without necessarily having to be an asshole. That's all I'm saying.
I agree, but I feel like certain people be scared of you sometimes.
Yeah, so, and that's not good, but great subject, fellas. So moving on to our next subject, Bagel Karen.
Oh boy.
So,
oh man, I can't wait for this one.
Let me just give our audience a high level of what's going on here. For those of you who might not have heard the story, there was a lady in New York City who encountered a Black male employee while at a coffee shop, who was trying to get her to put her mask on as per the store requirement. Okay, that was a company policy that he was enforcing, who refused to do so and proceeded to call him a racial slur. So the official question on Bagel Karen is, what are your thoughts on Bagel Karen denying the claim that she called him the N-word, despite there being a video where you can clearly see her doing it? So that's the question. The fact that she denied this whole incident that is clearly on video. So I'm going to throw this to Mr. PAT. What say you, sir?
All right. So I don't have a whole lot to say on this whole thing. I have no cute names for these people because, of course, she's being called Bagel Karen. We hear Karen. Of course, there's the BBQ Beckys out there and all this other shit.
Get those Beckys.
Fuck all these cute names. That's what I say. As we all know, it's a racist being a racist.
Mm-hmm.
People like her are trash. And that's really it. They're trash. So she called the employee the N-word because just like all the other suspected white supremacists out there, they feel that their privilege shouldn't be challenged. They feel that their whiteness shouldn't be challenged. The fact of the matter is she wasn't wearing a fucking mask. I'll admit that while wearing masks everywhere is annoying, the fact is you are still required to wear a mask, just like everyone else. You're not special. No one cares about your MAGA bullshit, and no one cares about your, however you say it, QAnon or whatever. Like, nobody cares about that bullshit because she's not the only one who's like, I guess what they call a anti-masker, where they just don't want to wear a mask when they go into places, you know, whatever. But, you know, the so-called quote unquote woke people want to walk around and just not wear a mask at establishments. That's cool and all, but guess what? Businesses are not obligated to serve you. If you can't abide by the business's rules, then you will not be serviced. It's really that simple. Maybe you just need to find a place that allows people to come in without a mask. Other than that, wear a fucking mask or go home. And I think what makes this incident worse is the fact that this racist, I'm just gonna call her what she is, I'm not calling her any of these cute names or whatever. This racist had her kids with her, and her kids are biracial. So her kids are biracial, which means someone of another race actually impregnated this woman. Me personally, I feel sorry for her kids. As we all know, children don't ask to be brought into the world. Children don't get to choose who their parents are. So now her children have to be in a household with the likes of her. I won't even get into the silly excuses that she made for saying the N-word. But what's interesting is while she did acknowledge saying the word, she, as you stated before, Naya, that she denied it. Maybe she was engaging in some type of doublespeak. I don't know. But the fact is, the video doesn't lie. Video doesn't lie. She said what she said. So for her to deny it, it's insulting people's intelligence. And I think insulting people's intelligence, it just adds fuel to the fire. And it really, all it does is make her look worse than she already looks. So just to end it off, as we all know, this is just one in many incidents where people are showing their true colors. No pun intended. Racists are more comfortable being openly racist. That's all well and fine because over here, we're all about the open racists. Let us
expose yourself, baby.
Right, expose yourself. Let us see who the fuck you really are.
Yes,
don't try to hide it. Let us know who you really are, so we can know how much.
Just of an R&B song.
And that's all I'm gonna say to that.
No, I feel you, sir. All right, good stuff. Okay, Mr. Emmett, what say you, sir?
So, first things first, I am very disappointed to all the Europeans that are not taking care of their Karens, all right? I feel like they're just acting out because they're acting out because y'all not doing a good job taking care of your Karens. So y'all need to take care of your Karens, all right? Y'all really do, because y'all doing a very bad job. Because they're over here being foolish on camera, saying things they're not supposed to be saying, but knowing they believe this stuff that they're saying because they know who they are really. So they need to control themselves because y'all not doing a good job. Because I don't know how many Karen videos are out there, but I've seen so much that it's ridiculous. Highly ridiculous, you know. But just asking, do you guys know where that video came from? Was it in Florida?
It was in New York.
It was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Dear goodness. Damn. That's even worse. But yeah, first and foremost, they need to just stop denying when you say when you know you've done wrong, say you done wrong, you know? See, that's where the healing starts in place. But they want to say shit and then act like you ain't said shit, but someone can repeat what you just said off camera. That's like an actor going to work, not acting, but said he played a part in a movie, but he wasn't there, you know?
Well, it's
Did that even make sense what I just said?
That's what they do. They gaslight.
That's what I'm saying. See, I just said something that I thought didn't make sense, but now it makes sense. You see? That's just what's going on with all the Karens in the world. You know? This is like, you know, that's the big thing, you know? But, you know, and there's some women who have the name Karen. I don't even know how this became even a term. So all the women, if your name is Karen, do not feel bad because we're not talking about you. We're talking about the people who are acting wild and childish because they can't get their lives together, you know, for no reason, you know, because say if I start calling a European white woman out of her name, you know, and I'm a black male, you know, what if I start calling white males honkies just for no reason because of, you know, or douchebags because, you know, simple fact, I'm mad because I didn't get my coffee made correctly and whatnot. It's just a cup of coffee, you know? Like we're holding small entitlements to things that don't even make sense, you know? And I feel like that is what our biggest issue in society, you know? Like if you notice, like I used to drink Starbucks. I don't drink coffee anymore, but I notice when I go to a Starbucks, I can just see the atmosphere in it, and I can tell based upon the reason, you know, those who buy coffee over there, you know, like you see what the atmosphere is like, you know. But when you see somebody who don't belong there, you know, that's when shit changes, and that's when everyone looks at you crazy, you know. And this is what most of these Karens are doing, you know. And you embarrassing yourself in front of the whole world. So I hope she gets her life together. I hope, you know, she ain't gonna get no repercussion, but hopefully you see this as a light to better yourself, you know, because you need to just keep, I'm not gonna say you just need to keep that word out of your mouth, but you don't know what, if you say this in a different situation where something really would have happened to her, you know, then, you know, you putting it on yourself and whatnot, you know, I'm gonna just leave it as that. But some of these Karens just need to just get laid and just live life, because y'all ruin it for every single European white woman out there, because all of them are not crazy. Just the Karens out there are crazy.
All right, so I got a few things here. So first of all, I'm gonna say this. I 100% feel like this is just a classic case of white privilege, okay, and racism. It's the combination of the two. Her white privilege lets her think she can get away with fucking completely denying something that is on camera, okay, and she's a flat out racist. Her first result was to call him a nigga because she didn't like excuse. I said the word, everyone, because that is the word that she used, okay? The woman called him the N-word, okay?
She said
was to call him a nigger with the ER, the hard ER, okay? Because he was enforcing a company policy that you had to have a mask on in that store. I mean, where the fuck has she been? Under a rock? The pandemic has been happening for over a year now. Stores have been enforcing this rule for a while now.
Yep.
So you absolutely went in there with no intent of adhering to the store's policy, and then decided that you were entitled enough to call this man a racial slur while on video, and then doubled down on it. When other patrons who heard her do it addressed her and said, hey, you can't call him that. You can't do that. She said, that's what he is. So to have the audacity to turn around later when a journalist tracked her down at her home and say, I never said that word, is an example of white privilege. Her white privilege lets her feel comfortable enough to do that because she knows she's not going to face any fucking consequences for her actions. It's that simple. I'm sorry, but people who want to question whether white privilege exists or not, come back to me and let me know what the results of this is, and then we can talk about it.
Oh, it definitely exists.
Exactly. Exactly. Technically, what she did was decide to go on a racist tirade without any consequences. It's that simple.
Because she feels that she can
because she knows there aren't going to be any consequences. She doesn't want to change, is the point. E-Man, you were mentioning before, admit you did wrong and etc. She knows she doesn't have to admit she did wrong, which is why she didn't. Because there are not going to be any real consequences for her. There never are. That's the reality of it.
That's true.
And that's what allows these people to feel so entitled. But I tell you what, keep doing it, dummies. Please keep exposing yourselves. I love when you expose yourself because I 100% would rather face my enemy head on, face to face, than have you lurking behind my back. Bring yourself out to the front line, player.
Right.
I'm glad you did it. But this whole notion that she is comfortable enough to say that she didn't say it when she's on fucking video is one of the best examples of white privilege there ever will be.
That's a bold Karen. That's a
period.
Really bold Karen.
That's just that simple. She's only comfortable with doing that, with denying the whole thing, because she can be. Because she knows she's not going to suffer any consequences. She doubled down on it in the video, in the very incident. Yeah. Other patrons called her out on it, and she says that's what he is, yet she still denied it later. Do you understand the confidence level you have to have in order to do that?
Like I said, she's a bold Karen.
She's a bold white woman who knows her white privilege exists. That's what it is. And she's a racist. And I'm not saying that all white people have, this thought in the back of their head that I have white privilege, so I'm just going to do and say. I am not saying that at all. I have plenty of white people in my life who are decent people, who are good people. That is not what I'm saying at all. It would be ridiculous of me stereotype a whole group of people the same way we wouldn't expect them to do it to us. However, this is obviously a fucking case of one who knew she had it, because she's in the video, the original video, doubling down on her racial slur, then turns around later and denies the shit. That's the one of the most serious levels of just bold, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to utilize my privilege card there ever was. It's that simple.
Like I just said in the beginning, European white men, we got to take care of those Karens because they're acting too bold out here. Just letting y'all know. PSA.
They've been too bold. It just haven't been recorded in the past. We're in the age of constant information and data, and now anyone with a smartphone is a journalist essentially, right? Anyone with a smartphone can bring a story to the world. I agree. Right? So now they can't hide it. It's not that they haven't always been doing it. It's always been around. Racism has always been around. Privilege and everything that comes along with that has always been around. It's just now it's at the forefront of our lives, because everything is at the forefront of our lives because of the world we live in today, where you can't get away with shit because someone's always recording or videotaping something.
That's true.
And in this particular situation, Shawty exposed herself and then used her privilege to tried to use her privilege to deny it later.
That made me think of that Ply song though.
Which one?
Shawty. Was that him who made that song?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he made a song called Shawty.
That's what I thought.
Oh yeah. Okay. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on it. I mean, she was, it's quite simple. She was racist or is racist, and she tried to use her white privilege to get out of the whole situation, but it's not working because, bitch, we see you on camera. Okay, right. You're on camera. We can see and hear you calling him the N-word on camera.
Yeah, and this goes back to what Will Smith said. I mean, he says something along the lines of there isn't more racism. It's just that racism is being filmed more.
Exactly.
That's what's happening. Racism, because I hear people say, oh, the country is quote unquote more divided, or people are just more racist, or it's just more racism. This whole notion of more racism, and my thing is it's not more racism. Racism is just being recorded.
Exactly.
We just see it more. That's it.
Exactly right. Yeah. So it's just the technology age. That's where we're in, the information technology age. You can't escape it because it's everywhere.
That's why I keep telling. When you live under a rock, you know how like those, like, what's it called, those like crawfishes that live under a rock and they just sit there and they only come out when needed. That's the same. I'm gonna use that inference for those who are just finding out like this is like, oh, it's shocking right now because y'all just been living under a rock and y'all enjoy living under a rock because it just feels safe. So
exactly. It would have disturbed their comfortability to come from up under it. So totally agree. Okay, fellas. So moving on to our next subject, and I'm super excited about this one. Zack Snyder's Justice League. So this official question is, what are your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League versus the Joss Whedon version? So it's not just what are your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League, but your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League in comparison to the Joss Whedon version. So I think we threw that last one to PAT. So we'll start with you, E-Man. What say you, sir?
All right. So nobody kill me. This is just the nerd in me. So, all right. I'm still not changing anything. They need to recast Ben Affleck as Batman. I don't care. But that needs to change and whatnot. First thing, that I'm gonna always keep that on my mind. So they need to probably, when they go to the next one, they need to just recast Batman and whatnot. The original, like the first one that was made, it wasn't all that bad. I actually enjoyed the first one than this 4-hour-long movie.
Whoa, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you. And the reason why I'm telling everyone this is that, the 4-hour version, they had some really good scenes. They had some amazing scenes. My best scene, all right, this might sound crazy. My best scene, when the horrible Ben Affleck Batman, comes in confrontation of the Joker. I sat there, my mouth watered, and I was like, my damn, because for many people who don't know, that Batman's worst supervillain that he hates the most is Joker, because he will never, ever change his persona, because if you are a really good comic head, Batman really wants to kill the Joker because Batman is a superhero that is righteous, but is also injustice in the mind and whatnot. That's how I see Batman. And I loved it because I finally got a chance to give me something that I really wanted to see, and I definitely enjoyed it, And I felt in that 4-hour movie, they gave really good scenes and clips at really good moments, and I really enjoyed that. But The movie was too damn long. Just putting it out there. It was too damn long. Too damn long. I even told, you know, PAT and I Angel that it was going to take me a while because it was a 4-hour movie and whatnot. Because that's too much screen time for me for a whole movie. Keep my mind in it. So it took me 2.5 days to watch that thing and whatnot. But that's the one thing he did an excellent job with the scenery for that 4-hour movie. Like, he did a really excellent job. I wish it wasn't 4 hours, but he really focused on certain scenes to make it pop. And I will give him that, you know? So the first one, the 2-hour version one, you know, it was basically straight to the point, but there were missing holes in that story. So it made it feel that, you know, we're going to give you guys more and we're just going to leave it as that.
Okay. Gotcha. Yes, sir. All right, Mr. PAT, what say you, sir?
All right. This is a great topic and couldn't wait to do this one.
Me
As
too.
we all know, I'm a comic nerd also. I'm a dork. We're all dorks on here. So this one, I'm not going to lie, it could be a little long-winded, but I will try my best to get through it as fast as I can. So I thought Zack Snyder's Justice League was awesome. It was the Justice League that we, the fans, deserved. It was the Justice League movie that should have been in the theaters from the get-go. At this point, when it comes to Joss Whedon's version of Justice League, I try to forget that version happened. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm just being real.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm just being real.
I thought the first one was okay.
No, that first one was garbage. But
I said I tried to forget.
Yeah, I really do. Like I remember certain parts, but honestly, I'm just trying to erase it from my memory. Like I'm just trying to pretend like it just didn't happen. You know, I'm just trying to, you know,
in the trash.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that those 2 hours of my life I forget, you know. So, I think Warner Brothers, when we look at this, I think Warner Brothers should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves for putting out the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, because like I said before, that version was garbage. It was straight trash. It was, as we all know, it was partially Zack Snyder's vision, and it was mixed with Joss Whedon's edits. Overall, it was just the dumb decision on Warner Brothers' part for even allowing that to happen.
Damn.
So what I'll say also is, we know that Zack Snyder has a certain approach to his filmmaking. Love it or hate it, the approach is unique, and it's what Zack Snyder films are known for. So we could ask, well, what are Zack Snyder's films known for? They are known for being extremely visually appealing. They are known for action scenes that tend to use what's called speed ramping. And they are known for intense action. Also, his movies tend to use more muted colors than other movies. If you notice, a lot of movies, especially superhero movies, the colors are brighter or they're sharper in contrast. Those are some of the key things, and for better or worse, what makes Zack Snyder's films polarizing. And speaking of polarizing, Man of Steel was a very polarizing movie. I thought the movie was dope. And
it was dope.
To my knowledge, it did okay critically. On the fan side of things, it was very controversial. And the thing is, it was controversial for a few reasons. One of them being the destruction and the high death toll, and another being Superman snapping Zod's neck at the end of the film. I personally had no issues with any of it. And I'll just be honest, I'm not even a fan of Superman. I'm not like I always thought Superman was corny. Like growing up, because Batman's my favorite superhero.
Yes.
Yeah, Batman's my favorite, and I always thought Superman was just corny. So for me to even like a Superman movie, that says a lot. And I did like Man of Steel. So I personally had no issues with what took place in that movie. I like that particular movie because it was a realistic take. It was a realistic approach to Superman and really just superheroes in general when you think about it. My thing is if a Superman existed in real life, it would be Henry Cavill's Superman. And if Superman was fighting other beings just as powerful as he is, a lot of people would either be seriously injured or killed. Let's just be real.
I agree.
So Zack Snyder gave us a realistic take to what we call the superhero. Really, I don't even think super heroics should be all glitz and glamour. It shouldn't be like all lightheartedness and a bunch of jokes. No disrespect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I fuck with some of their movies, but it just can't be all like lightheartedness and a bunch of jokes. Because if you think about it, if you have gods fighting in the real world, that would actually be a nightmare. And this was also Zack Snyder's approach in Batman vs. Superman. That was a movie where Superman was being held accountable for the death and destruction that was caused in Man of Steel. Now going to Ben Affleck's Batman, who is based on Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns Batman. He's based on that version. He would be that person to see Superman as a threat. So as we all know, Batman and Superman had their confrontation after that. They
hate each other.
Right, they hated each other. They had their confrontation. They squashed the beef. Later on, they linked up with Wonder Woman to fight Doomsday. Superman dies as a result of being murdered by Doomsday. Now let's fast forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we get Zack Snyder's intended vision for this movie. What we get with this movie is a more fleshed out movie. We get a movie that is not disjointed like the 2017 version was. And really, Zack Snyder's Justice League, it just made more sense story-wise. Everything was more cohesive. The pacing was much better. That the color grade that Zack Snyder is known for, the muted colors, that was back in this film. The action is more violent and it's intense, more intense, as I think it should be, and not for the sake of gratuitous violence, because you don't want to just be violent just for the sake of being violent. When it comes to these types of movies and you got superheroes who can do God knows what fighting in the real world, it definitely needs to be much more violent and intense. I just think you need to see how dangerous these people are. This is one of my reasons that I like Zack Snyder's DC universe. I mean, people love to say that his superhero movies are too dark or they're too serious, but really his take is just more grounded. And like I said before, of quite a few times, it would just be more realistic. But we all know this is fictional stuff. The world of superheroes, however, is still based in real life principles and real life physics. Zack Snyder's Justice League, along with his other DC movies, also approach superheroes from a mythological standpoint. That's something I really like. They approach it from a more mythological standpoint. The superheroes and the supervillains are treated more as larger than life. Zack Snyder's comic book movies are really, in a sense, they're live action graphic novels. And I say that because they are really, I mean, they're aesthetically better than any other superhero movie. And when you look at Zack Snyder's movies, you can pause certain scenes, you can pause certain moments, and I swear to you, the shots look like they come straight out of a comic book. Like there's like certain poses that each character does, or like, for example, like the Flash running, or like when the way he was running in the end, when he went back in time, or when Batman was standing on top of that the statue when him and the Flash and Wonder Woman and Cyborg met up with Commissioner Gordon. Just the way he was standing on that statue and the way that storm was showing, and it was like flashing, and you could see his cape flowing. If you pause that scene, that's straight out of a comic book right there. So I think Zack Snyder does a great job with that on the visual aspect. Now there are certain nitpicks I might have, certain things I don't really care for, like, you know, one of them being like the girls singing in the beginning, the scene where Bruce Wayne met up with Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, that I didn't really, I was just like, what is this scene in here for? You know, I have a few other nitpicks, but for the most part, Zack Snyder's Justice League was an excellent film from top to bottom. I mean, his Justice League was just more fleshed out and had more depth. It has more character development, especially for the Flash and Cyborg, which was very important, especially Cyborg, because as many people have said, he was the heart of the movie.
What about Aquaman, though?
The stake, yeah, Aquaman too. He was a little bit more fleshed out, and really the stakes was higher. Like the stakes were just higher. We get more characters, and we really see their true power. We see how truly powerful these people are. Steppenwolf actually looked like a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
True.
He looked
I
like
will give him that. I'll give him that.
His armor was sharp looking, more metallic looking, just more dangerous. He just looked like a real threat. And I like the fact that you got to see more of him and how he works for Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Darkseid, as we all know, he made a few appearances in the film, which I think was good. You know, he wasn't in there too much, but at least we got to see, okay, next, you know, for the sequel, hopefully there will be a sequel, but if there is a sequel, this is the next dude that they got to face.
I doubt it's going to have a sequel.
Right.
Hopefully it does.
I doubt it.
But just to, you know, wrap this up, you know, we're not just hearing his name like we did, and I'm talking Darkseid. I'm still talking about Darkseid. Like in the 2017 version, all we did was just hear his name.
Right.
At least with this version, you actually get to see who this guy is. And you get a glimpse of how much of a threat he will be. I also like the fact that Martian Manhunter was in the movie, which that was a nice surprise.
Yes, exactly.
That plus the scene where Aquaman and Wonder Woman kill Steppenwolf and send his head back to Darkseid. That I love that part.
That was dope.
Yes, it was.
And really something like that was really dope. And I think it should leave room for a sequel. I mean, you know, but
the reason why I'm not to cut you off here, the reason why is that DC is working on a lot of movies at the moment, because supposedly we're supposed to be getting Cyborg, a new Flash movie. We got the Black Adam, and I think you're doing another sequel to Shazam, supposedly.
Well, the Cyborg one is a little iffy, because I don't know if y'all been keeping up with what's been going on with Ray Fisher and behind the scenes with Joss Whedon. There's been some issues. So the Cyborg movie is definitely it's a little on the iffy side, but those other movies are on the plate. You know, those are supposed to come out. So.
Okay. Excellent. All right, sir. Great synopsis. So this is actually the topic that I've been the most excited to discuss in today's session. Because the super dork in me have watched the movie and watched the movie again, because I had to just get my mind right about what I wanted to say. So let me say this. I am literally in the position of hating the fuck out of this film. So I love it compared to the Joss Whedon film, because the specific question was, what are your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League versus the Joss Whedon film? So compared to the Joss Whedon version, it's just 10 times better. The Joss Whedon version was complete horseshit. Okay?
I thought it was okay.
PAT, no.
Great horseshit.
PAT. I would like to just pretend like I didn't spend multiple hours because I've watched it more than once. Because here's the thing.
You watched that movie more than once?
Listen to me.
I only watched it twice.
Such a huge comic book Marvel, DC. Okay, Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. There is no movie that was released by any of those three genres that I have not seen multiple times. Literally. I've literally seen every Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian, any content that has come out about Star Wars, I've seen it more than once. Same thing for Marvel and DC, okay? For some reason, even though that Joss Whedon movie is very shitty, I'm still such a huge DC fan that I want to see those characters. It's like a release.
Right. That's how I feel.
The movie is shitty.
So not even to cut you off, because I watch a lot of the DC anime, like
yes, me too. I've seen all of them. I think
they're killing it in that arena.
Yeah. Yes.
See, I watch those multiple times because they actually get their shit together on those.
Exactly.
I can name like 6 of them that I just watched. That I can say I watched at least about 5 to 7 times, maybe 8.
Yeah, I've seen all of those multiple times, like all of them. The Batman ones, The Killing Joke. I've seen Justice League, Dark Apocalypse. I've seen Red Superman. I've seen, like, if it's an animation that came out from DC.
Have you seen Batman Hush?
Yes, I did like it.
That shit was amazing.
I didn't like it.
That was really dope.
It was dope, but it was very predictable to me. I just think that they could have. Okay, Hush was a little bit better than The Killing Joke to me. Yeah, it is. But I still liked The Killing Joke too. But it wasn't my favorite one. But it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I wasn't in love with it. But okay, so back to Zack Snyder's Justice League. So let me tell you why I love hating. I love the fact that he gave way more depth to these characters than Joss Whedon did in his version. It was an absolute necessity. He took the time on some very important scenes to elaborate and give us more detail. For instance, that bank robbing scene in the beginning with Wonder Woman. Now, a lot of people said that was very dark and he was about to kill the kids and people didn't like that, etc. But as Pat said, this is DC, bro. This is not Marvel, where they're mostly making movies just to reach a largest audience as possible. And they're not really going to stir the bag, but so much because they want to get a certain profit. DC, they are a little raunchier. First of all, their characters are not really for children. That's what people don't realize about DC. People confuse things, especially when it comes to Batman, because they had the Adam West 60s show where Batman was all goofy and shit. Batman has always been a dark character. Yeah, always. Absolutely. Always been a dark character. And that's why he's my favorite too, Pat. Batman is my favorite comic hero, period. He's one of my favorite characters at all in general. But that is why, because he is not a superhero for children. He really isn't. Certain things happened over time, like all those silly ass colorful Tim Burton ones, like Batman and Robin and Batman Forever and etc. And then the Adam West thing, where people started getting this sullied image of Batman. That's not who he is. He's dark, he's brooding, he's an asshole. He is about making sure that justice is served.
That's why Ben Affleck can't play Batman.
Well, he's crazy.
I mean, he played that version. He played it well, though.
Yeah, he's doing a good job with this version of Batman, in my opinion. But I understand your argument. But I think he's doing well for this version. But so I like the depth that Zack Snyder gave to the characters. It was necessary. Okay. I also like the scenes where Darkseid was being reflected appropriately. Let me tell you, that scene where he actually gets smashed in the neck by Ares with the axe and he falls back and everything else. That was a little too vulnerable for my taste for Darkseid. You kind of take away from the effects of Darkseid by showing him so easily defeated in the beginning, although I understand his intent. I wouldn't have done it, but I understood the intent. Right. Okay, that's one of my flaws with the movie. The other is Zack Snyder suffers from a serious case of inability to fucking edit. You don't need 16 minutes of the Flash saving the one girl and playing with a hot dog. I don't give a fuck about that scene enough to spend 16 minutes watching it. First of all, you slowed down Flash way too much in this movie. You can't. The awesomeness of the Flash character is obviously his speed, and I get what you were implying, that he goes so fast that you have to slow it down in order to get the perspective of how fast he's actually going. They did something similar with Quicksilver on the Marvel side. Okay, but here is the thing. No one actually likes Ezra Miller. No one wants to see him for too long being the focus because the dude is whack as Flash and is off-putting. Second of all, his run is so stupid that you've emphasized how stupid he looks when he's doing that Flash run. Like, bruh, stop it.
Oh, the paradox.
Stop it. Exactly.
The Flash paradox.
Yeah, he went entirely too long with that Flash scene. He went entirely too long with that scene with Lois getting the coffee for the cop. Why was that shit 29,000 minutes? No one needed to spend 29,000 minutes watching Lois get the coffee for the cop. We got the message you were trying to send. She does that every day. It's been a rite of passage since Superman died. We get it. 20 seconds, bro. You can do that shit in 20 seconds, not 29,000 minutes. Okay?
The 29,000 minutes?
I exaggerate. It's not
it was
29,000 minutes.
It was very
It's not 29,000 minutes, but you know, it was a long scene.
Gotcha.
It was very long.
Like, that's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, right. He just suffers from, no, 29,000 minutes is a complete exaggeration. He just suffers from not editing in the proper places. He did great with adding some content that Joss Whedon's did not have. The reanimation of Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf actually looks harrowing, which he's supposed to, okay? He is the right-hand man to Darkseid. He should have looked harrowing in the first one. He did a much better job with it, Zack Snyder did, than Joss Whedon, okay? The content he added to each one of the characters, the highlights and emphasis on Cyborg's character. I like Cyborg. He's one of my favorite Teen Titans. I think he did a great job, and later members of the Justice League. I was super excited about seeing Martian the Manhunter and the fact that he's secretly revealed to be the captain in the previous Man of Steel movies. You know, the one who plays Dresser in 5 Heartbeats. He turned out to be him the whole time. I was super hyped about that. Overall, I loved so many aspects of the movie, but I also hated so many aspects of the movie. So in comparison to Joss Whedon's, I will take Zack Snyder's any day. But overall, was it like the greatest DC movie ever? No. I still think Batman versus Superman was better.
You're lying to yourself. That movie was shit.
What? Crazy, sir.
You gotta watch the ultimate version.
God.
Batman versus Superman was the shit.
Me and PAT was going at it when that joint came out, and I kept telling that joint was shit.
Oh my gosh, bro!
The death of Superman was 10 times better than that, and they took three fucking comics to make that one day movie. I was like,
that movie was super fucking lit, especially so, like, there are like so many scenes in that movie, but when you think about the relationship of Ben Affleck's Batman with Superman, it was spot on.
Yeah, they nailed it.
As Pat said earlier, it would be that version of Batman that will see Superman as a threat because of everything he has experienced as Batman. And because of everything he understands about Superman's abilities, he did what Batman would do in that situation in trying to find a solution to the quote unquote Superman problem. The shit was spot on.
Yeah, it was spot
I couldn't
on.
do it.
Another thing too is with Batman versus Superman, the one that was in the theater, that actually was chopped down. Just like Joss Whedon's Justice League. Basically, the time was chopped down. So the editing for the theatrical version of Batman vs. Superman was terrible. It was just atrocious. And I think that contributed to why people think it's a bad movie. But if you get the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition, and that's actually available on HBO Max as well, more time, they added a half hour more, and it definitely fleshes things out much more. The editing is not nearly as bad as it was in the theatrical version. And I think that's another thing too that people need to realize, because they see the theatrical version and how bad the editing and how certain parts weren't there. And, you know, of course, people say that there are plot holes and all this other stuff. Well, the Ultimate Edition fills those holes up and it fleshes things out more. So when you add more time to a movie, that helps. But when you cut back the time, that's gonna hurt a movie. That's just gonna hurt a movie in the theater. And that's what happened with Batman vs. Superman and Joss Whedon's Justice League. The time was cut back. So that's a lot of what made these movies, I guess, bad, especially Batman vs. Superman, which is not bad at all. I think it's a great movie, and I'll defend it to the death. I mean, it is what it is.
I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I only watched it once. That's how bad it was for me. I went to theaters to go watch that thing. I came out the theater, I was pissed as shit. I was like,
like I said, that the editing was bad on that one, and they cut the time, they cut back too much time, and the movie was actually intended to be 3 hours. I think it was 3 hours, I think they said, but the Ultimate Edition is 2.5 hours, so it adds a half hour to the theatrical version, which was 2 hours. So that makes a difference.
Man, that movie was good as hell. I don't know what y'all talking about. Batman versus Superman was one of the best DC movies that came out compared to
I think so.
Superman and Shazam was 10 times better than Batman versus Superman.
What?
I'm telling you this right now. Not bullshit. I'm telling you this right now. I was, and when it comes, I tell everyone, when it comes to these DC anime like movies, like I'm on it. I'm gonna tell you how bad I'm on. I be on Google waiting for the next one to come out. The last one I saw was the Deathstroke joint. I think it's called Knights and something. That one was amazing. And I watched that joint 6 times and whatnot. Literally 6 times. All right. I haven't watched Batman Superman since it came out. I have not even attempted to watch it. I've only watched it once, and I told myself I'm not watching that monstrosity ever again. And nothing's not going to change it, because I haven't sat down, and that movie's been an afterthought since I watched it in theaters. Like, I lost my mind. Like, when I left theaters, I was like, man, I waited a whole fucking year to watch this movie, and the shit came out not the way I wanted it to come out. I lost it as, like, my man was looking at me. He thought I was crazy and whatnot after the movie's over. Like, I was like, man, I can't. I was like, I was like, until DC get their shit together, I'm gonna go sit here and watch all the anime ones. So yeah, that's.
I don't know what to say, because I'm like, I don't know. I think that DC is behind Marvel definitely, but Batman versus Superman was one of the better ones. I think so. Like Suicide Squad and like Joss Whedon's Justice League, like some of those movies were shitty. But Batman versus Superman was one of the better ones, in my opinion. And Zack Snyder's Justice League, definitely one of the better ones. But I feel you, sir. I feel you, sir.
Yeah, I think the top 3 DC movies are Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, I think I would agree, because yeah, I guess I can see it, but I don't know. I just feel like, Zack Snyder definitely did a better job than Joss Whedon's version. That's no question. Definitely could have edited a lot of some unnecessary content out. I mean, I get it, and I do agree with Pat to an extent. When you do some editing, the film is going to suffer, but like there were just some scenes that were completely just overdrawn, and he could have scaled that back, especially like the scene with, I cringed too when the girls were singing the Aquaman. It was weird as shit, and it was kind of giving me like creepy cult vibes, to be honest. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that scene was pointless.
Yeah, that scene was a waste. And there were a few scenes where I felt like it was a waste. And I also wasn't a fan, like I said, of the way he did Darkseid initially, but the depth that he showed, the more detail of the story he showed with the Amazons in the beginning, with Wonder Woman and that, saving them people in the bank, with the details he went into with Cyborg, and just the depth that he added to all of the characters. Now, the last part of the movie that I want to touch on, that, and then I'll wrap up my point, was the Easter egg at the end. So the scene where Batman is having the dream, and in his dream, he is working with the Joker as well as Deadshot. So let's talk about that. Deathstroke. I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, correct. Deathstroke. Wade. Yeah, he's working with Slade Wilson. Not Slade, yeah. My man Wilson. So Deathstroke. So let's talk about that. So I don't know what the fuck Zack Snyder's trying to get across with that, but it was just a whole bunch of confusion to me. Now, I know that he's hinting at there's some kind of apocalyptic future because of Lois Lane dying, and basically Superman goes apeshit.
Yeah.
But I think his Easter egg was intended to get people excited about the possibility of a sequel coming, where they're going to dive a little further into that, and you can see Batman working with two of his most arch enemies in Deathstroke and in Joker. But it just was a little too vague. It felt like the attempt was just for the scene to be cool, as opposed to make sense, because you have Mara there who's also implying that like Superman killed Aquaman. So then it makes you wonder, okay, did Aquaman fail to save Lois Lane? Like, why did he kill Aquaman? Or was Aquaman just opposing him? Right. And I get that the intent was to raise some questions, but at the same time, I think the banter between the Joker and the Batman was okay, but felt a little forced. Like the scene where Batman was like, "I will fucking kill you," or whatever. It just
I love that scene.
I love that scene. It was injustice. I was like,
yeah.
It was like it was there, and I was trying to believe. Like Ben had me there, but I was like, that's about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I get where he was trying to go with it, but it's just like, that could have been done better. Now, I will say that I am one of those few people who feel like Jared Leto's Joker has not been given a fair shake at things. He has only had a few minutes in each of the movies that he's been featured in. I would love to see some more Jared Leto Joker.
Is that the one from Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not all that great.
But he's only had a couple of minutes in each one of those movies. Like, it's not like he's had the opportunity to, like, okay, Jerome from Gotham has had more screen time than Jared Leto's.
Yeah. Because he was okay. But the dude from like Suicide Squad, he's not that great. He's just not
But my argument is because he hasn't had enough chance.
Right. He
Go
didn't
ahead,
get
Pat,
enough
I'm sorry.
time.
I think he's just a filler. I think they're just filling him in until they can find something good. That's just me, because I don't feel like he's like, when I first saw Suicide Squad, I was like, man, that wasn't a bad movie. But yeah, Joker just it wasn't. Yeah, but the dude who played I don't even know his name, but the dude who played in that Joker movie, that shit was insane. My mom was like,
Joaquin Phoenix? You talking about the Joaquin
You
Phoenix?
talking about Joker, the latest one that came out.
The latest one that just came out.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was fucking.
That was one of my favorite movies.
That shit got me on the edge of my seat. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I love that movie, man.
Me too. You know, a lot of comic fans hate it because they said it portrayed Joker as weak. What people don't realize is Joker has no official origin story.
Nope.
There have been many versions of the Joker origin story, from Jack Napier to even Jerome in Gotham to this version of Joker where he's what's his name? Arthur
Fleck.
Yeah, Arthur Fleck. I mean, there's multiple versions of the Joker origin story. It was a different origin story, but was similar in The Killing Joke because he's a comedian that fails at it, right? Which is what this Joaquin Noah's Joker. I mean, Joaquin. I said Joaquin Noah, like the basketball thing. Joaquin Phoenix version was, and I just think people were too still in love with the Jack Nicholson versions and the Heath Ledgers.
Yep.
Yeah, that they didn't understand that this is a complete different direction. You're supposed to approach this from the fact that you're seeing a completely different and new origin story of Joker. And I think people were just still too in love with, see the comic, the comic fanatic side of me, and the huge Joker fan that I am, because Batman is my favorite hero and adversely Joker is my favorite villain. I just think they're the perfect on and off balance of each other. But I was excited, and I thought, first of all, Joaquin knocked it out the park, but he's an amazing actor anyway. But yeah, I love that movie. I went off on a tangent, but that
no.
So that's the comic nerd in all of us.
Yeah. So have you guys seen the Justice League Apocalyptic War, Joan? Have you seen that one?
Yes.
So if you watch that one, for the first time ever, they finally showed who the fuck Batman was and Bruce Wayne really was and whatnot. Because the injustice is that evil. And you saw how easy it was, how they took over Batman's mind. You see? If you watched it and you saw how evil it was, and it took Damian to almost get to his father to make sure that to show that how his injustice is, that where his righteousness comes from. Because I watched that movie so much, I think I watched it at least about 15 times, because I couldn't not stop watching it, because I was like, y'all finally showed who the hell Batman was, but y'all keep trying to keep switching them up in all these damn movies. It just felt so good, and I enjoyed it. And I tell everyone that if you have not seen that movie, please go watch it, because it's by far one of the best ones they put out. I think it came out in 2020. Best one, 2020. Y'all need to go watch it if y'all haven't watched it, listeners.
Yeah, I've seen it. I can't say that I recall, because I think that may be one of the ones that I've only seen maybe once or twice, but I definitely have seen it. I've tried to catch up on all of those DC animations that are out there. I think the last one that I did watch was The Killing Joke, but I'm going to go back and rewatch that one. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, and just to wrap up my view on the Zack Snyder cut, definitely no question a much better cut than Joss Whedon. And anyone who says otherwise is an asshole. And I would not take their opinions on comic book movies at face value. Not offending you, Emmett. I'm just saying, like, from the perspective of Joss Whedon being a terrible director or putting that particular movie together, I say Zack Snyder's is much better.
There's nothing wrong with that. I love y'all no matter what. It ain't going to change. But damn it, they need to go recast Ben Affleck for me. That's all I'm asking. This is
just change Batman
for me.
And they did. I mean, they did. Well, not recast, but I mean, the one dude from Twilight, he's playing.
Yeah, Batman, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah, he's playing Batman, but in a different,
universe.
So I mean, there is another Batman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is E-Man. You're gonna get to see Robert Pattinson as Batman too.
Right.
I feel like they just gave Ben Affleck the part and be like, yo, you go play Batman. He probably looked at everybody and be like, yo, I can't do this shit.
It sounds like you're just not a Ben Affleck fan.
Right.
I'm not. That's the reason why.
Okay.
I'll put it like this, right? I'm going to show you what the last movie I seen Ben Affleck is, right? So, like I told you, I love different movies. So there's a Netflix movie called To All the Boys. I mean, it's like To All the Boys or something like that. It's about this little girl, some Asian girl and whatnot. And Ben Affleck's playing the father in that Netflix show and whatnot. But he's so soft and distant. Like, I'd be like, that's the dude y'all cast as Batman. I was like, what the fuck? And then didn't he do that movie with Jennifer Lopez and whatnot? Where they gave him like this whole bad boy image and whatnot.
Yeah, that horrible ass movie, G.
And I'm like, why are you giving this fool like these little like, oh, he's some type of bad boy actor and whatnot? No, he's really not, and it just don't work for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Ben Affleck's like a chill dude, so I'm like, why y'all giving him parts, and why is he getting parts that don't make sense with the man's own personality? It just don't fit well. So when I found out they cast him, I was like, yo, there's nobody else out there. I was like, yeah. I was like, was this because because like, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds played as like Deathpool. He couldn't play Batman, like,
I mean, I'll just say this real quick. So with Ben Affleck, I mean, you already mentioned the joint with J-Lo, which we all know was bad. Of course, there was Daredevil, which that was another bad one, even though I would more so blame the direction of it, not necessarily his acting or lack thereof. I think it was more just the direction of that film and the approach. So with him, with Affleck, I mean, he definitely had some bad movies. But if you look at some of his more recent stuff, and like really the stuff that he directed, those are actually good movies. Like if you look at, I don't know if y'all have ever seen The Town.
I've heard of that movie.
What's his face?
It was a good movie.
Yeah, what's his face from Avengers? Played Hawkeye. He's in it too.
Right, exactly.
That movie. There's another movie called Argo.
Yeah,
Argo was a good movie.
Where he's a journalist.
Like, yeah, he's a journalist, and then which I think he did a good job in that. And then there's another movie called Gone Girl. I
was gonna say Gone Girl too.
Yeah, that was a really good movie too. So I mean, his more recent stuff, and when I say more recent, I guess within the past like 10, 20 years or so, I mean, it's been good stuff. He's been more consistent, but I think it's just those bad movies from back in the day that people look at, and it's like his name, they're just like, oh, Ben Affleck, man, what the fuck? Like,
100% agree.
Right. It's just one of those things. So when he got cast as Batman, people had that image of him from back in the day, and they're like, why the fuck is he playing Batman? And honestly, and I'm gonna keep it real, when I first heard about him being cast as Batman, I kind of questioned it too. I was just like, oh, really? Out of all the people that they could have got, they got Ben Affleck,
right?
But I was just like, okay, fine. I'm gonna give it a shot. Because when they cast certain people, there's a reason why they cast them. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna join in all the hate and all that stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let me give him a shot. Let me see what he can do.
And he did good in Batman versus Superman. It was
Absolutely.
just that the Justice League movie was shitty. Because Batman versus Superman was his first outing as Batman, and he did a good job.
Right.
It was it was his Batman in Justice League that people were like, oh, he's so whack. And that's because that movie was whack.
Right. And they added jokes in there too. They made him more like more of a joke. You know, and that was really Joss Whedon that did that. Those were exactly added.
Batman doesn't joke that much. He doesn't. I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Joss Whedon's version of everything is so watered down and cheesy that it literally got watered down and he literally managed to water down and cheesy one of the most dynamic characters of all time. So that's what happened with that situation. But overall, Ben Affleck, I like him. In what he's done so far, I'm not saying that they should keep him for all of the, sequels to come, but, if it's going to continue on with Zack Snyder and he's going to do another Justice League movie, I'm not opposed to keeping Ben Affleck. I think he would be okay if it's going to, stay along the same character lines, but who knows? We never know.
If he kills off Batman, I'll be happy. In the story.
All righty, sir. Okay, so fellas, final subject of the night. And it is probably going to be the most interesting one we discussed. And I'm sure all of our listeners are aware of the situation with Lil Nas X. So Lil Nas X is I guess, pop/rap star. I don't know what his technical classification is.
He calls himself a country rapper.
Okay,
country rapper. He's a country rapper.
Yeah, and he just recently released a very controversial video to one of his latest songs. And so the official question is, what are your thoughts on the video? And for those of you who haven't seen it, we will place a link at the bottom of the session when we place the session out so that you can go and take a look at it. Or if not, you can also go on YouTube and check it out. But he has just recently released, and I forget what the name of the song is.
MONTERO.
Yes, MONTERO, thank you. And then it's MONTERO, and then Call Me By Your Name is in parentheses.
Right, in parentheses.
By Lil Nas X.
It sounds very nasty.
So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this question to Mr. PAT to start us off. What say you, sir? What are your thoughts on his video?
My thoughts on his video is, unfortunately, I can't unsee what I saw.
Damn.
I mean, plain and simple. I can't unsee it. I initially heard about it a couple days ago or so, whatever. And I don't pay attention to him. I don't listen to his music. I don't really fuck with a lot of the music of today's generation, just being real. So somebody like a Lil Nas X, I wasn't given that much energy. I didn't really think too much of it. But then people, of course, kept talking about it online. They kept talking about this video and how it's satanic and all this other stuff. So I say, all right, let me check it out. Let me see what all the talk in the Matrix is about. So it was basically 3 minutes and 10 seconds of my life gone down the drain. I think the imagery was atrocious. It was just absolutely atrocious. That's just really how I can describe it. Now, what I will say is I'm not a religious person. I'm not a religious person by any means, but the satanic imagery was definitely blatant. I think it was a bit much. However, I'm not going to focus much on the religious aspect of it. I'm sure there's enough Christians out there who've seen it and are going crazy and have things to say. So really, they can take that angle. I'll just say this. I think, and this will be a controversial statement, but hey, that's what we're here for, right? It's just more buck breaking. It's Hollywood doing Hollywood things.
I agree.
Hollywood loves broken Negroes.
I agree.
A black man who will wear a dress or engage in homosexual activity openly
He
on
already called
camera.
himself gay, so he's already open.
It fits when they engage in that openly on camera. Really, it just fits right in with today's paradigm. It falls into the agenda to emasculate black men. And let me make something very clear. I personally don't care how other adults choose to live their life or the choices that they make. I don't care. I don't spend my time thinking about what other people do, what other men do with other men, or what other women do with other women. I don't give that much energy. I say as long as it doesn't involve harming kids or they're committing heinous acts of crime, the choices that people make in their lives, that is on them. So I don't care about what people do behind closed doors. Who people choose to sleep with behind closed doors, it is totally on them. I don't care about any of that. So at the end of the day, it's not my life. So, why would I care? It's not my life, it's theirs. So I just wanted to put that out there because, of course, you put out any criticism, you put out certain criticisms, people want to come at you a certain way. I'm gonna just say what I want to say, and I'm gonna just put it out simple and plain. So with all of that being said, I'm gonna speak on what I see and give my views on certain things. And those certain things are things that play into Black emasculation. The system of white supremacy is all about Black emasculation. The system of white supremacy went from butt-breaking Black men on slave farms to butt-breaking Black men through the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. One form of butt-breaking was done by force, and another form of butt-breaking is done simply through the promotion of eunuchs. So for those who don't know what a eunuch is a castrated man. The dictionary also defines a eunuch as one that lacks virility or power. There were times throughout history, and I'm not going to go into a whole history lesson about it, as we all know everyone has Google, but there were times throughout history where enslaved Black men were castrated, and the ones who survived the castration were paraded around by their owners. These eunuchs were described as neutral, non-threatening, and non-gendered. So when we look at someone like a Lil Nas X, metaphorically speaking, I think he can be considered a eunuch, whether it be the Black men who have worn a dress or outright dressed in drag in entertainment, or the Black homosexuals within the entertainment industry. They will be elevated. They will be elevated because, one, they don't pose a threat to the system of white supremacy, and two, it is a way to promote to young Black boys that being effeminate will get them far in life. So to just really wrap it all up, the system of white supremacy used to castrate Black men literally, but now the system of white supremacy has figured out how to castrate Black men figuratively. Lil Nas X video is really just one in many ways to help promote the emasculation agenda. Mm-hmm. Of course, that video, it's not the end all be all, and it wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. I really just watched the video just to see what all the talk in the Matrix was about. Other than that, honestly, I couldn't care less about dude. I don't care about his lifestyle or what he does behind closed doors. None of that's my business. As always, what I say is this isn't personal, it's business. And I'm in the business of being real. I'm not gonna censor what I say. Like, I'm just gonna say what needs to be said. Of course, people will agree, and then there's gonna be people who disagree. Now, if one doesn't understand and overstand what is going on, then there will be confusion. I'm not the least bit confused about what's going on. I know what's up. So I said what I said. So if anyone out there disagrees, fine, but don't at me. Don't at me about it. That's that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you, Mr. E-Man. What's that?
Yeah. So I just found out Lil Nas like acts his age. So he's just 21 years old. I just feel, this child, I will call him a child, he might be, an adult, but he's still a child, because when he's 21, I don't know I don't listen to the kid and whatnot, I am way much older than him, and his music don't resonate with me because we're on a different time flux and whatnot, because I have at least 10 years, like I have a decade over him and whatnot, like I got a decade over him, and we all do. But PAT stated everything. I definitely agree with him. The only thing I'm just gonna add to just end my point from right here is that child he just needs help, like physical and mentally help, because the industry has really destroyed this kid in my eyes. I don't even listen to him. So I'm just letting people know I don't even listen to him. But what I see and what's going on, like this behavior is very sickening in my eyes. And it's not going to stop. But we need it to stop, Like we just need it to stop. And to close out on my point, I just feel his ass just needs to get his shit together, because I watched the video. That shit was beyond sickening. Beyond sickening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very sickening.
Beyond. You know what I'm saying? This is a 21-year-old kid. And I know we talked about, parents being parents, making sure, the kid's not watching this. But 13-year-olds and up, and I don't even want to say about 10, they know who this guy is. I don't. I don't. But that sick shit that you think you're doing, that it's doing something, that's the whole thing. What's the other dude what's his name? Is it the dude the dude who said that Birdman fucked him and whatnot over the deal? What's his name? I don't even know his name.
What?
I think. What's his name?
Hold up, Birdman. What?
The one that
he works. He's on Cash Money. I keep forgetting the dude. He got like dreadlocks. He wears like skinny jeans. What's that dude's name?
Yeah, I mean, you're not talking about Wayne, or somebody else. Is
it Young something? It's like Young. Is it Young Thug?
Or Young Thug?
Young Thug.
Young Thug used to work for Cash Money, but what are you saying about Young Thug used to be on Cash Money.
So Young Thug, so he had, I'm gonna say allegedly, but he went on camera, and he said, he got back broken by Baby and whatnot. He said that
I don't
Baby
think
on
that
camera
was
and
Young
whatnot,
Thug.
allegedly.
Let's just make
let
me throw that disclaimer out there.
I don't even know, because I don't.
Yeah, no. So we might not.
It's just this revolving door. It's just this revolving door, and and just by me sharing that just shows you I don't listen to these fools and whatnot. This is how sick shit's getting now, because and here comes the thing, he's not even gonna hold himself to the actions of the stuff that he just put out and whatnot. I just heard about something, Nike, I think him and Nike put out a shoe and whatnot. So supposedly, something's going on with the shoe and whatnot that supposedly, it has real human blood in the shoe based upon reports that I heard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just all these weird things. So I'm like, Yeah, I just read about this.
I doubt that would get approved by any kind of governing
This is what
organization.
I'd be like.
You never know.
You just never know. And this is the same shit and whatnot. You know. Because I heard about him coming out openly gay. That didn't bother me because it's not hurting me. But like what else? It's just what? I'm gonna just end my point from there. I'm just speechless. Now, Angel, let's close out on you. I'm done talking about this sick stuff. I'm just done. I'm done.
Okay. So just want to, before I dive in, just want to throw this out there just in case, in this previous conversation that we, mentioned the wrong name. We are not alleging that Young Thug or any specific rapper made those claims. We are simply having a discussion about this topic. And Eman, I got the point that you were trying to make, that there have been accusations against Baby about inappropriate behavior. So let me say this in regards to my view on the matter. This for me is very simple. This all goes back to the issue of who parents are allowing to raise their children. It should be them who are raising their children, not any other celebrity, including Lil Nas X. I mean, the hook of this new song literally references doing cocaine and drinking. That should be a red flag that this is not a song for children. So for those who are making the argument, well, my son or daughter, etc., looked up to Lil Nas X because they liked Old Town Road. Okay. In Old Town Road, he literally has a line where he say, lean all in my bladder. Okay? You know what you're listening to. Know what you're exposing your children to. It's your responsibility to do that, not his. He is not your child's role model, or he should not be. And it doesn't have anything to do, in my opinion, about whether he's gay, straight, or otherwise. It should be about the fact that he is a celebrity, and you as an individual has the responsibility to parent your child. With that said, Lil Nas X specifically said he blatantly put this material out because of Christians and their hypocrisies. Christians who were damning him to go to hell just because he was gay. He specifically made this video to offend them. He said something along those lines on his Twitter.
Oh, so he was trolling, basically.
He was, exactly. He purposely made, and you know what? I'm all for it. Because at the end of the day, Christians, and not just Christians, but religious zealots in general, are some of the biggest hypocrites walking this earth. They pick and choose what to be a zealot about. They pick and choose what to take up in arms. How is nobody crying about the fact that it's technically a sin to wear two different types of fabrics?
That is true.
The shit is ridiculous. At the end of the day, his life choices are his life choices, and no one has the right to infringe on anyone for their life choices. He purposely made this video to offend all of those religious zealots who were damning him to hell because he's gay. First of all, one of the biggest things about religion is that a lot of them foundationally have the principle of the higher power is the person that people have to face when they go on. So if you are acknowledging that there is a higher power that people are going to stand judgment to, how the hell are you down here judging those people? You're not the higher power. It's hypocritical. It doesn't make any sense. For me, and I preface this with saying I'm not knocking any specific person's religion. Everyone has the right to believe in whatever they want to. I am not knocking Christianity from any specific standpoint or any other religion. What I'm saying is, and I'm a person who is spiritual, I am not religious, so this is, of course, my viewpoint. But my thing is, how can you sit around and judge when the core foundation of your belief is that you are all going to ascend to a higher power who is going to judge you? Then you shouldn't be judging people while you're on this earth. Not to a certain extent. He purposely released this video because of those people. Now, I'm gonna keep shit a buck because you know that's what I do. You fellas know that. I don't like his music. I didn't like Old Town Road. I don't like this song. It's not because he's gay. It's because the songs suck. It's that simple.
Yep, I agree.
I love Sam Smith. I love a number of different gay artists. It doesn't have anything to do with his sexuality. That is not my
Frank
business.
Ocean is dope
and I
too.
do not judge others. I don't like his music.
Yep.
Period. The songs suck. Yeah. But do I respect his choice to say, I'm going to make a video the way that I want to make it, and especially because he was purposely intending to get a point across, then I respect that choice of his. I respect his choice to do that, because at the end of the day, his entire point, just like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi and all of the other folks, is that I am not supposed to be your child's role model. You are supposed to be your child's role model. If you think that offensive and inappropriate behavior is going to stop with Lil Nas X, you've lost your damn mind. You can't control what everyone does in this world, but you can control how your children are exposed to it. Lil Nas X is not the first person to behave in a way that people felt was inappropriate. And let's not even get on the subject, like I mentioned last time with the Megan and Cardi conversation, that nobody has a fucking thing to say when Ozzy Osbourne bites the head off a bat on stage, right? When Madonna and Britney Spears are kissing and making, doing whatever, right?
There it goes.
It's always the Black people, the world is about to come to a fucking end, but somehow all of these other people that's doing all of this crazy shit, oh, that's just the artist they are. Well, that's the artist that Lil Nas X is. If you don't like his content, you don't have to support or watch it.
I agree, and this is what's true. So can we end on this and just say, can we just let all hoes be hoes?
Right.
Or like Willie D says it, let a hoe be a hoe.
Let all hoes be hoes. That's the principle you want us to. You're so crazy.
Real quick before we even end it, there is something quick I do want to address in regards to this whole Lil Nas X situation. So on social media, I posted the only Nas I acknowledge is Nasir Jones.
Yes,
now,
I know that.
I posted that on my main page, and I posted that in a Facebook group. So I just posted it, and I mean it's pretty simple and straightforward. But you really just have a bunch of clowns online trying to, I guess, quote unquote, drag me for posting that. The fact of the matter is, I posted what I posted. And I said what I said. I'm not gonna back down from what I posted. What's funny to me is that people see that post and they automatically, want to go to, he's a bigot, he's a homophobic, blah blah blah. When I didn't even say anything about this man's sexuality. I never made any, specific.
They're doing too much.
I never said anything about that. That's but right. They see a comment, a fucking sentence where it says the only Nas I acknowledge is Nasir Jones. They automatically jump to the conclusion that, I'm making a homophobic statement or whatever. What if I just don't like his fucking music? What if that's what I'm saying? What if I'm saying right. Nas what if I'm saying I like Nas better than Lil Nas X because Nas is just a better artist? They don't know what the fuck I'm saying, but they saw that statement and they're just making all these comments. I haven't even addressed it and I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave the post and I'm seeing the replies and I just laugh, honestly, because I think it's funny. I just think it's funny how they see that and they jump to these conclusions. So whoever these people are, they can keep saying what they want to say in the comment section, I don't give a fuck. I mean, I posted what I posted, and it is what it is.
It's so
Straight
crazy
like that.
when you say that, PAT. You know what song that came up in my mind?
Go ahead.
You hate me now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you can hate me now.
And the thing is, you can, the reality of it is that the entire point of equality is that you're getting equality, good or bad. I can hate you as much as I hate someone else, and it don't have anything to do with your sexuality. You just not my cup of tea. And it's the same thing with love. I can love you like I love anyone else, and it doesn't have anything to do with sexuality or race or whatever. You're just not my cup of tea, which is totally fathomable. I think people are offended in this situation because a lot of them do know that Lil Nas X purposely released this video to offend the Christian community because they were trying to damn him because of his sexuality. And so I think people are, you know, overly defensive at this time. I understand where their frustrations lie, especially for folks who have experienced this. You know, you can't just automatically jump to, oh, he's a bigot or any of this. But yeah, just to wrap it up, what I was saying is, I definitely understand where you're coming from, Pat. You know, people will jump to, oh, he must be a bigot just because you've said something related to a subject, and in that moment they're feeling overly defensive. Do I understand that group, as far as, you know, the LGBTQ community, definitely faces inequalities and etc.? Of course they do, but that doesn't mean that every time someone disagrees with the viewpoint that they are a bigot. I think that is counterproductive to the dialogue of equality. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, because I have very many people in my life who are gay, bisexual, lesbian, or etc. that are very important people to me and mean a lot to me, family, friends, loved ones. So obviously I do not feel any kind of hatred or anything towards them. But at the same time, you have to be able to have a dialogue and a conversation without jumping to conclusions or being quick to call someone a bigot because they disagree. If they disagree from a moral standpoint on something that someone is due because they're a human being, that's one thing. If they simply disagree with something as simple as whether Lil Nas X produces good music or not, and you call them a bigot, you're an asshole, because the boy doesn't produce good music.
Right. You know, it's about the music. Like I said before, what he does behind closed doors and with who, I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. I don't lose sleep over who's doing what with who, even if, like, you know, I might not agree with whatever that person's doing. It doesn't even have to be that, but just anything. I don't lose sleep over that stuff. Like, that's not something I'm even focused on. I don't even put my energy into that. So I just thought it was funny. Like, I'm just laughing because I read the comments and I'm just like, wow, they took this sentence, a fucking sentence where I just said the only Nas I acknowledge is Nasir Jones. And they basically just took it to a whole nother, you know, thing. And it's just like they're making all these assumptions, and it's just like, okay, like, all right, I'm gonna leave the post up.
Right, exactly. Like you said, you're gonna leave the post up. It's gonna be right there.
Yep.
Exactly right. Okay, well, fellas, this was definitely a great episode. I think we covered some really awesome topics, and I look forward to releasing the different parts and we are definitely, for our listeners out there, super appreciative of your support and your interest. Please feel free, if you have not done so yet, to go on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We got constant content dropping all the time. We're definitely going to drop these links along with it. Also, Mr. PAT, our resident rapper, go ahead and release that information so they can check out your content, sir.
Yes, go to thepatchannel.com. All my social media handles is on there, and I have a ton of content. music, articles, vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of it, even the podcast, the good, the bad, and the truth is on there as well. But thepatchannel.com, you can go there, and that is the hub for everything, for all my social media handles. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube also, because I have my own YouTube page. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check them out, folks. Yep. Great stuff there. Great content there. Mr. E-Man, Mr. PAT, thank you for a great episode, fellas. Yes. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We love you.
Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We need those subscribes.
Please get those subscriptions in, folks. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. The good, bad, the truth. We out.
We out.